So we have had some crazy developments recently with Naruto, Boruto, and even the Minato manga. Correct me if I'm wrong, it was also supposed to be fully colored, but then it's just not, I guess? I don't know.
Well, I looked at the thing from the Naruto website, and I think it just said that there will be a color page spread in it. It doesn't say, where I looked at least, that the whole thing is colored.
I think the announcement said it was gonna have a couple of color pages, not the entire thing.
Dang.
Yeah.
Because the entire thing is very unusual for Shonen Jump. Like, they only do that once in a lifetime, essentially. For the final chapter of Naruto, for example. They usually don't do...
I wouldn't be complaining if the whole thing was in color.
I mean, me neither, but it's much more expensive for them to print in colors, so they kind of save pages and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, not like they're about to make like $1 billion off this or anything.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I'm assuming it'll sell pretty well, though.
Just from the leaks alone, I mean, I definitely want more immediately.
Video. Maybe it's not that popular.
Like, I don't have it and I already want more.
Yeah, same.
So, Dygo, just in general, you have a lot of interesting videos. Let's do sort of like an interview type thing really quick. Why did you choose Naruto itself to do some videos on in the first place?
I didn't, really. Naruto chose me, you could say. Most people don't know this, but when I started the channel, it was like a channel about everything. Like, I made videos about Marvel movies, I made videos about video games, and I made one versus battle Naruto video, and that was the one who kind of blew up back then. So I was like, okay, I'll do that then. I think Naruto's the core audience now. And that's essentially how it was. It was an Itachi versus Jiraiya video. It's no longer on my channel because it got copyrighted, so I had to delete it for safety reasons. But yeah, that was the first. It wasn't like it blew up or anything. It was just like getting like 50 views a day or something, which was like more than the 2 views my channel used to get every day. So I was like, yeah, this is probably what I should do if I want to grow my channel or have success or anything like that. And having a niche actually works on YouTube much better than not having one when you're starting off, at least. So
I completely agree.
That's essentially how it started.
Yeah, just look at Naruto Explained. He literally only does Naruto, and he has a second channel for other anime.
I think a lot of people do that, though. Yeah, that's what a lot of people are doing. I'm not sure if I'll ever do that, but it's a cool idea.
Yeah. I was even explaining to Kamui earlier because people were telling him to start covering Jujutsu Kaisen and a bunch of other anime, like the Bleach 1000 Year Blood Wars, because, oh, it's trendy and stuff. Well, if that's not his audience, then that's not necessarily where they should be doing their videos on, in my opinion. Yeah. Yeah,
if you start to give mixed signals to the algorithm, your channel can take a dip, you know.
Yeah, I think it works best if that's just what you started doing from the get-go. And honestly speaking, in reference to the JJK stuff, like they were talking about Kido doing it, Kinomaki. I'm like, honestly, if I look at his view count, he gets better views on his Boruto videos. So I really don't think they were giving me good advice. I'm like, I really think that's not the best idea anyway.
Yeah, if you start off as a channel that talks about all types of stuff, then that's fine. But if you build a core audience around a specific topic, then pivoting, it will definitely harm your channel in the short run, and it may harm it in the long run.
Yeah, I think like there's exceptions for, like, you know, if you talk a lot of Boruto and you make Naruto videos, I don't think that's gonna.
Yeah, because that's way closer, right? It's like talking about the Naruto prequels, the Star Wars prequels and the sequels and the original trilogy and stuff like that. It's like the same verse, but like, even if you go to like, I think the more anime that Naruto / Boruto viewers are fans of is probably Dragon Ball. If you make Dragon Ball videos, they're probably not going to do as well as your Naruto videos if you started with Naruto.
I agree.
I could be wrong though, I don't know.
I think it just depends. Like, yeah. Usually, yeah, you're better off just staying within the same verse. But that said, I know at least for me, like, at some point I'm going to make a couple of videos on other series just because, but I'm never going to make, like, Death Note the focus. I'm just going to do a few Death Note videos, probably. I'm probably not
Yeah,
gonna make a
so-
whole new channel around it because I don't think I have enough videos I want to make on it. But I have some I'll do. They're probably not gonna do as well, but it's not gonna ruin my channels because I know I'm only gonna do a couple.
Yeah.
Of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've done something
I was
pretty
thinking about.
similar to that, where I've done a few Demon Slayer videos. I've done 2 Blue Lock videos, but it's mainly Naruto, and the other videos do all right, but the Naruto videos just kind of come back and they're doing the same as they were.
Yeah,
I think it
it's
works
like
if you just sporadically do it every once in a while.
yeah, like every once in a while. It's just like having one video that randomly pops off or doesn't pop off. It's the same thing. Like it's not gonna make or break your channel necessarily. It's more like if it's a frequent thing. If you're Anime Ball Z, for example, it's a different anime every single day. Well,
But that's the
can be
purpose of
good,
his
it
channel,
also
though, right?
can be
Yeah.
bad. Like for them, like when I used to watch them before I made my own videos, I only watched the Boruto stuff. So it probably hurt their algorithm actually that I subscribed because they didn't watch anything but the Boruto stuff. Like, but I don't know how that all plays out.
I think if the channel's premise is to do a lot of different stuff, then it's fine. But like if you start doing a lot of other stuff when you're already focused in a niche, then it can hurt. I was actually thinking about doing a big Death Note review because I was reading the manga for the first time. Like I just watched the anime back then, so I was actually, oh okay, the manga's kind of different. So I was thinking about doing
Yeah,
a
that's
video.
what
I don't know if
I've
we'll
heard.
ever eventually do it, but it could be cool. Like longer videos, they usually they keep growing. Videos that are like 20 minutes plus, they keep growing, and usually videos that are like shorter, they just flatline on YouTube. That's kind of what I learned over time.
Yeah, sometimes they
Yeah.
randomly pop off like a month later. That has happened to me, but generally, yeah, the longer ones
Yeah.
are more consistent.
Sometimes the algorithm will just randomly recommend a video from years ago as well. It's kind of weird.
Yeah,
In
I
my
think
opinion,
the longer one's more likely, but I have no idea.
so anime YouTubers are really interesting because the audience who watches anime YouTubers usually when they click on a video, like if they're a first time viewer, they're not there for that YouTuber. They're here to listen to that anime. So no offense to Kamui or like even you Dygonights or any other YouTubers here, honestly, but most of our fans aren't here for us. They're here for Naruto. At least they are at first, and then we sort of have to not bribe, but like win them over. So if we do want to switch, we have to make our own videos personable so they do watch for us rather than just for Naruto.
And yeah, that's how people find out your channel, and then if they're interested in the stuff you cover, then they probably subscribe and watch to more stuff. But yeah, initially it is the series that you talk about that's going to bring people in, and especially in the beginning, you should probably try to focus more on search results than anything else, because that's the fastest way people are going to find you. Like, that's why my Jiraiya versus Itachi video back in the day was successful, I guess.
Even that's actually part of the reason why we did that title, because the leaks on YouTube do extraordinarily well for Naruto content. So that's going at the beginning of this title, regardless if we talk about it or not.
I don't like it, but at least for me, it's actually doing pretty bad, so maybe nobody cares.
No,
I think I made 2 videos about the Minato manga, and they both didn't do very well.
Yeah.
And the second one I did was like, I uploaded it a minute after the results came in for the poll. So I was like, yeah, maybe people are not that into it. I don't know.
I mean, like, I know they're just using my last 2 videos as an example. The video before is not a topic anybody thinks about. I really just did it because it's interesting. And it had been over 3 weeks between that one and my previous video. This Minato manga is the same day as the spoilers, and it's doing worse than that other one that where I had like a month break. So I guess it's not as popular as I expected.
Oh
yeah,
boy.
Minato's just not that interesting of a character, so I feel like I already
He's
know
cool.
all I need to know about him. So like I don't really need to
Well,
see any
again,
leaks.
this chapter isn't because we're expecting some crazy plot revelations or some interesting. No, it's just because it's cool. That's the entirety of this chapter.
And
It's
again, not to speak on the leaks, but that's exactly what we're getting. We're not getting any crazy revelations, but it is one of the coolest things I've seen in the Naruto franchise in quite a while. just from what I've seen.
Literally all it is.
Yeah.
It's cool fan service, and that's all Minato is to begin with. A cool character.
They
Like,
know
If
what
I'm being
they're doing.
honest,
His whole thing throughout the series, before we even met him, was that he was cool and a genius. He was just this cool guy that everybody liked.
if I'm being honest, if I were to pick characters that I wouldn't want this manga to be about, it would be the characters from Team 7 and Team Minato. Those were the 8 characters I wouldn't want to see a manga about. And yeah,
Yeah.
Minato was the one who won, so I'm like,
Yeah, I felt the
fine.
Same way.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I felt the same way. Except if it was about Sakura, I would have loved that. So.
Like, I would have preferred a manga about, I don't know, Mizuki than Minato, but
Yeah, I
it
wanted,
is what
like,
it is.
some less popular voted characters,
I
like
really wanted
Orochimaru,
Sakura.
Kimimaro, or something like,
Yeah.
or Goofy Toby.
I wanted Sakumo so bad. Would have
Same.
been so cool.
Oh man.
I mean, I wanted Hikaku Uchiha, but I mean, I can't have my way.
Yeah.
It is
I
kind of
thought
weird.
Orochimaru becoming evil could have been a good chapter,
Oh yeah.
like
Oh yeah,
a revenge,
definitely.
Sure.
like a Revenge of the Sith type of chapter, essentially.
It is kind of weird to discuss.
But I wanted to see
predictions
Orochimaru
after.
in a.
But I am curious what you guys think is going to happen, even though technically the leaks are already out. Like, Daigo, I know you haven't seen any leaks, so what are you, like, expecting, knowing that we get a Minato manga? Like, do you think we'll see him learn Uzumaki seals or something?
I thought by the picture we saw, the first picture Kishimoto posted, that he was going to learn the Flying Raijin because he had a Flying Raijin kunai in the picture. So it was like, maybe that's what he's going to learn, because we've seen the Rasengan training before, like twice with Naruto, the Rasengan, the Rasen Shuriken, so seeing that again, yeah, it's a different process because Minato was inventing it, but I don't think it would be the most engaging thing for this one-shot manga.
Well,
So I thought it was going to be the Flying Raijin, but I don't know.
You do remember how
I mean, this isn't a
Minato
spoiler,
learned it, right?
But
Because he saw Tail Beast Bomb,
Yes, sir. There you go.
kind of reverse engineered that. So maybe that's it. I don't know.
yeah, I mean, I wanted it to be like Flying Raijin Yellow Flash stuff, but honestly, just the title alone translates to a whirlwind in a vortex. Which the first thing I said is, okay, Rasengan, based on that. A vortex does not make me think of Flying Raijin. It makes me think of the spinning vortex ball called a Rasengan.
Maybe he's just teleporting around so fast it looks like a vortex.
That'd be pretty funny.
Uses Flying Raijin just
yeah,
to
that
warp
makes
his
Spamming
face
Flying
around.
Raijin.
So Jonas says we needed to see more of the Tell Beast actually used in the wars, to be honest. Glad we get some of that. So I think we'll get that in the Minato manga just because of the way Minato learned the Rasengan. So assuming it is about that, probably definitely gonna see something. Who knows which Tell Beast, but it could be interesting. But I
If
wonder...
it's the Six Tails, we riot. Nobody likes the Six Tails.
Isn't that Fu? Yeah, that is.
No,
No, that's
seven.
Utakata.
Tails is Utakata, the
Utakata.
slug one.
The bubble
I mean, the
one.
Seven Tails is cool though. I like the Seven Tails. I don't like the Six Tails.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
think the Six Tails is the
it's ugly.
least cool
It's
one.
a slug.
Seiken?
It's
a
literally just
slug.
Katsuyu. It's a smaller Katsuyu. Actually, that's crazy. Katsuyu is bigger than the six-tailed beast.
Combined.
Yeah, how does that work? Because if
Katsuyu
it's
is
a
bigger
slug,
than the Ten Tails, actually.
is the slug
Yeah,
because-
Tell
because
Beast
when-
slow?
Wait, actually, hold on. That's
When
a good,
Sakura and Tsunade
that's
summoned
battle.
10% of Katsuyu in the war arc,
Yes.
like Katsuyu was massive, and that was
Yeah.
10%.
Yeah, how about full Katsuyu versus the 10 tails?
The
Can
10
Katsuyu destroy the world?
Oh my goodness.
I mean, think about how much acid she could spit out. That acid just like burns you or whatever the hell it does. So, I mean,
burn the planet.
she might be taking the 10 tails on.
That's
I
how...
think that the fight would go like this: the 10 Tails spits a Tail Beast Bomb, and then it kind of bounces off Katsuyu and just ricochets
Dude,
back to
Katsuyu
the
can
10
just
Tails.
split
GG.
apart. Katsuyu can just split apart anyway, so they're just like not doing anything.
That's how
Yeah.
Sakura should have scaled up in the war arc. Instead of Ten-Tail Jinchuriki, she just becomes Katsuyu Jinchuriki.
her Biju mode. It's turned into a gigantic slug. Hey, then she'd have an avatar though. Like Sasuke, Susanoo, Naruto, Kurama.
Oh, that would actually be kind of cool. Yeah. So the war arc specifically, because there's a lot of like explosions or whatever with the tailed beast. A lot of people say that the power scaling was cliffed or whatever in the war arc. What do you guys think about that? Do you think we should have seen more or less tailed beast? Was the 10 tails too strong, etc.? Was there anything too strong in the war arc?
I would say talking about explosions specifically versus power cliffing, it doesn't have to be like a 1-to-1 because like you can have really strong characters that aren't making big explosions. So for example, Minato wasn't making big explosions. She's just really fast. So that's more so just the fact that, I mean, Obito had the 7 tail beasts with him. So naturally, the only thing they really do is tail beast bombs. Of course, there's a lot of explosions at that point. You know, I would be in Obito, for example, was one of the strongest people at the time. He wasn't making any explosions. He's literally just spamming Kamui. So I don't really think the explosion aspect was any problem until you could say like at the very end with like Naruto and Sasuke's just gigantic attacks. But I mean, even that doesn't bother me because it was supposed to be like the peak pinnacle of the verse at that point. It was end of series stuff. So I really don't think that was an issue in terms of explosions anyway. In terms of power cliffing, I mean, I could go either way. I wouldn't have minded if, like, Sage Mode was, like, or really, Nagato's Renegade was, like, near the peak, and, like, the only thing beyond that is, like, Pintail Shinjuriki, maybe, like, Hashirama a little bit above or something. I don't think it needed to get as crazy high as it did, but it doesn't bother me either. I think that's just, like, it could have been one way or the other, it doesn't really matter type of thing.
I do think they had the opportunity to make the 10 tails as weak as they needed to. They literally said that because they didn't have the full 8 and 9 tails that it is weaker. We just don't get any like quantification for that. So they could just make it as strong or weak as they needed to.
Yeah. And even then, actually, this is kind of random, but kind of funny. I thought about this because I was mentioning it in one of my future videos, but did anyone else notice how, so Obito pulled the 10 tails out of him. He's not nerfed whatsoever, mind you. And it turns into the Divine Tree. But then, the Divine Tree stays there for like a really long time. Madara eventually recreates the 10 tails, you know? The Divine Tree's still there. Then he fights Guy and so on. But then Madara puts the Divine Tree back inside him. You know, the way it started with Obito. And magically he gets this massive amp, and it's just like, oh, he's way stronger. It's like, what? Obito had that to begin with.
It's really, really weird. I know what he's referring to. So, again, in the war arc, when he's about to, like, suck everyone up into the Divine Tree, he takes he just ran, like, it's just, like, something he seemingly just knows how to do. He doesn't need to do hand signs or anything. He just does it. He just extracts the 10 tails, and keep in mind, this is Juubito extracting the Jubi, and then he just stays Juubito. Like, I don't understand it either.
Yeah, like, it didn't do anything to him. So, he actually, what's funny is, so, Obito actually kind of amped himself in a way, because he basically had an ally, the Divine Tree, was sucking people up. He could use it to create Biju bombs and stuff. So, he kind of amped himself. And then Madara puts it back inside him, it somehow becomes amped too. That doesn't make sense. That's like Naruto taking Kurama out of himself, getting an amp, and putting him back inside, and somehow getting amped again. It doesn't make sense.
I mean, the way I rationalize it is that the tree is not really the 10 tails itself, but an extension of Juubito, so he's like powering it up when using it, and of course using it to drain everybody else's chakra. And then when he loses the 10 tails, when he lose the fight to Naruto and Sasuke, and they get all the 9 tail beasts out, it's just like a husk that has some power and chakra to it, but most of it was removed with the tail beasts. And I get it that it's weird to think about that, but that's kind of how I rationalize that. It's never really explained or anything, but I don't really see the amp Madara gets after absorbing the tree as that massive.
Well,
like,
I don't know, because so 6th stage mode Naruto, so just 6th stage mode, no KCM or anything, was demolishing Madara. And then Madara absorbed the God Tree. No, he was demolishing him. Then
he blocked a punch. He blocked a punch, and then he got hit by a Rasen Shuriken.
Madara just laid on the ground like, ah shit. Like, he was losing, and then all of a sudden Madara absorbs the God Tree.
I mean,
and somehow, no, hold on. Then Naruto goes into his 6th pass Senjutsu everything mode, and Sasuke shows up. And Madara is doing better against the duo than he was against Naruto alone in base. Now, he's losing in both situations, but like, I don't know, bro. Like, I think Naruto powering up plus adding Sasuke is a bit of an amp to their side.
Because like the first exchange they had was so quick. It was like one punch, then Naruto throws the Rasen Shuriken. Madara's taking it back because like, wait, how is he dodging my limbo? And why is he able to touch my good old Damas here? But then like the damage the Rasen Shuriken did to Madara was kind of negligible. It was pretty, you know, a shallow cut. And then when Sasuke comes in, he cuts Madara in half. Yeah. I don't know. It's pretty inconsistent. And also, Sasuke's sword and Zetsu's arm were able to pierce through Juubito. So Juubito wasn't written as the most consistently, you know, power scaly character ever. Take the Madara, the Zetsu stabbing him in the back thing. There were, I think, at least 50 different things Madara could have done to prevent that in that point of the story. But it had to happen, so Madara gets stabbed in the back.
Well, this is what I was gonna say. As far as Zetsu goes, I mean, Zetsu has 100% success rate stabbing people. No one has ever blocked Zetsu's stab. So I mean, you know, that might not be a diss to Madara. It might just be an upscale for Zetsu. Like,
welcome to. Yeah, but then Zetsu's looking at Minato and Kakashi. One arm, and Kakashi's like pretty tired, and he's like, yeah, I can't fight them. If I leave Obito's body, they're gonna destroy me.
Nobody said Zetsu was fast. We're just saying that he might be able to stab.
Well, fair, I suppose.
I guess that's might be how it worked. I don't know. Zetsu is the most inconsistent person of all time, let's be honest, because like,
no, that's true. I hate the Zetsu thing so much.
To be honest, I wish we saw Black and White Zetsu together fight like all out at some point in the series. That would have been really cool, because you have in the war itself, Zetsu splits off, or I guess at the 5 Kages, Black Zetsu and White Zetsu split. And now Black Zetsu has this like teeny tiny bit of sliver of whiteness on part of him for where they were cut in half, because at the time they were actually like one person, not like 2 separate entities. But anyway, it was basically Black Zetsu kind of on White Zetsu, and he just solos everyone with this spore technique, which never shows up again, sadly. And then in the war itself, he's fighting like the Mizukage and a bunch of ninja with wood style.
And Naruto with KCM. KCM won Naruto too. Like, he dodged the Rasen Shuriken.
Like, so I don't know, dude. This guy's all over the place.
One thing is for certain, he definitely stomps Kakuzu.
Oh, absolutely.
Maybe.
Like, Zetsu versus Kakuzu would be such a weird thing.
Shout out Noodles. No, I just did a video the other day of why Kakuzu isn't as strong as people think. So when Naruto's about to like speed blitz, quote unquote, Kakuzu from behind, and Kakuzu's off guard, well, why is he even off guard? Because he knows he's fighting Naruto, and he's aware of his surroundings. Before the fight starts, Ino, like, puts her mind transfer into a bird, and is just, like, observing him from a mile behind him. And he just recognizes this and strangles the bird. So clearly he's on guard, even outside of a fight. So why inside of a fight would he just be less on guard to a significant degree? Makes no sense. So Naruto's just stronger than people think.
I partly blame some of it and the whole Kishimoto rushing the art thing, because Kakuzu is kind of inconsistent, because moments before they're talking about, like, you know, Kakuzu, his Bell experience, all this shit, and it seems like that just goes out the window. Like, I'm gonna be honest, Naruto was clever, but at the same time, like, Kakuzu in that form could have just, like, easily killed all the clones instead of only attacking. He literally shoots all 8 tentacles into one freaking body instead of just shooting 1 tentacle per clone. Like, I'm like, he just attacked in the dumbest way possible. He didn't have to lose. It was more so just like him being an idiot in that moment, which
Yeah,
didn't
the
really
editors
make sense to me.
actually made Kishimoto rush the ending of that arc. That's why the fight's so like brief and
Yeah,
you know,
like
anticlimactic.
Yeah, like I think that fight could have been done better in there's a lot of ways they could have approached it. They either could have had it be like a teamwork thing, or if they wanted to parallel, you know, Sasuke fighting Deidara and Naruto fights Kakuzu, then I think that fight should have been like a lot more elaborate. And honestly, at that point, I don't know if Kakashi should have fought Kakuzu as long as he did, because it's also kind of like, well, Kakuzu had to fight Kakashi before that, so it's I think they could have just approached it much better.
Yeah, I
As
also
much as I
think
do
he was
kind of
just...
like the fight still.
Kakuzu was running lower on chakra, and Naruto was at 100% as well. People have to keep that in mind. And Naruto has more stamina than Kakuzu, so the longer the fight goes on, the stronger Naruto will become in comparison to Kakuzu. So I agree the arc was rushed. The editors did force him to rush it, but to give context to that, by the way, I also think this is the worst arc in all of Naruto. But that's at least in terms of
Really?
writing.
You think
in terms of
the
writing
Akatsuki suppression
specifically.
arc?
Yeah, in
But
terms
you
of
know
writing.
what,
Well,
though?
it's just because
Honestly,
this ending is rushed.
I would like
but
you to elaborate, because I don't think that's really a hot take. Because I mean, objectively, a lot of arcs in Naruto are good. So to say one's the worst doesn't mean it's like
Mine
Let's
is
throw
definitely
out a
Tenchi
pen.
Bridge. I
I was
think Tenchi Bridge is the worst.
Yeah, that is pretty
Bridge
slow.
might be worse.
The manga does it a lot better than the
Yeah.
anime. It
Yeah.
fixes the pacing. It's just the anime slowed it down because
No,
it was
yeah,
building up at the
I
time.
never really count the anime, but in the manga, Tenchi Bridge is my least favorite, even though it's much better in the
I
manga.
don't read the whole manga. I've only gone up to the Itachi showing up in the village stuff, and I haven't finished from there.
Even the Kakuzu,
But-
what is it? The Kazekage rescue arc. I almost said Kakuzu rescue arc. The Kazekage rescue mission. That arc, even though it's really good, really cool, you get to see Sasori and everything, that arc does also suffer from the same pacing problems as the Tenchi Bridge arc. I just think, in general, the Kakuzu... I said it again. The Kazekaze rescue mission is, just in general, has more high moments, so people praise that arc a lot more than the, what is it? The, Akatsuki suppression arc.
I mean, yeah, this is an anime problem because all of those arcs are very fast-paced in the manga. Like the entire thing with the doppelgangers versus the guy squad, it's 2 pages in the manga, and in the anime it's like
It's so
absolutely
long in the
So
anime.
ridiculous.
It's so long.
like it's 1 page to set up the conflict and another page to finish it up. Like that's it. And in the manga and in the anime it just keeps going with the worst fight animation in the entire series, maybe.
And then Rock Lee, with his galaxy brain, figures it out. Wait a minute, you guys. Have we tried just being stronger? Like, why don't we just do that?
Well, think about this for a second. What if, like, Hashirama or Madara showed up, and then a doppelganger of themselves appeared? Like, would they just destroy the planet in the fight or something like that? Because, I don't know,
Yeah.
man. That's a powerful jutsu, and it's never brought up again.
Yeah, I don't know why...
Yeah, like end of Shippuden, Naruto and Sasuke peel the stickers and they have to fight each other.
You know what? That's how One
Yeah.
Tails Naruto defeated Urashiki. He just realized he had to just be stronger. And then he just was. There you go.
Oh, there you go.
People say it's
Oh,
inconsistent.
I don't know, I think it was funny, but I'm trying to think. So what was? So I know there's a period leading up to the war itself, after the 5 Kage summit. I don't know the technical name to the arc, lead up to the war arc or something. I don't
Like
feel
the
that
Conan
had-
versus Obito arc and stuff. And then
well,
Kisame
I'm
versus...
The problem is I haven't read this in the manga, so I don't really know how it's all set up. I know in the anime there's a lot of filler arcs where they're just like on the boat though. So I'm
Oh,
talking, like,
there's one Naruto stops in an island and meets Kurotsuchi and Choji, I think,
So,
an
like,
episode in the
before-
anime.
I'm thinking like before Kisame shows up, before Obito fights Konan, and after the 5 Kage summit, like in between there, like what is the arc that stretch, like, and where does it exactly start and end? Because I feel like that could be the worst depending on where it technically starts and ends.
I think there's barely anything between those things, to be honest, in the manga. It's very quick. Like, it's a couple of setup chapters. Like,
I wouldn't consider it an
Is
arc.
there even an
I can
arc there?
double
Like,
check.
Oodie,
No, there's not an arc. Like it's
did it just go 5 Monkey Summit, War Arc? There's nothing in between?
no. There's the Naruto training arc where you get the Minato flashback and Naruto's birth. Then there's the guy fight against Kisame, Obito versus Konan, and there's a couple of setup chapters with Kabuto showing up and showing the Edo Tensei too. But it's very quick. Like the manga is surprisingly fast paced.
So there's no arc before. There's no arc before Naruto's Kurama training, and after the 5 Kage Summit, there's no arc in between in the manga.
Yeah, so
No.
an
Not
arc is
really,
not
no.
defined by things happening. Arcs have very clearly defined start and end points. So Dygonight, a thing that I always say around here is that I'm a screenwriter. Like I took screenwriting classes and all that. In my opinion, you have to have actual points of an arc. You can't just have things happening like what Kamui is suggesting. You have to have themes and all these arc specific things that I don't want to go into the details of right now because it would take way too long and sort of get off track. But this goes back to why I was saying the Kakuzu arc was like just the worst arc is because of the pacing. So like you were saying at the very end of it, it's rushed because of the editors. I agree. The context for that though is that Kishimoto is in the hospital at the time. So I don't put this on Kishimoto because he did have to write
yeah, I didn't know
literally
that.
in his
I didn't know that.
yeah. I forget if he was sick or if this was a time when he slipped at the hot spring and like broke his back or whatever. But no, he
His back
definitely
was hurt. He had a back injury.
yeah, so he was writing the end of that arc from the hospital bed, and he actually came out and apologized later, I believe. Or at least he gave context for why that arc ended the way it did. So I think
I mean,
that's the
it's
worst arc
definitely not
because
up
of
to par, but it makes
Yeah.
sense. That makes sense.
that. Yeah.
You didn't like it? I thought it was pretty good.
The ending specifically
Like the
is
whole
what's
stuff
rushed,
with,
but that's not Kishimoto's fault, per se.
Like the whole stuff with
Yeah.
Asuma, the stuff with Naruto, Shikamaru, Iruka, the crying thing with whole Poster Jiraiya. Of course, Kakashi was my favorite. I think that fight is when he became my favorite character. So there's a lot of good stuff in that arc, I think.
The anime
Well, I will
also
say,
fixed a lot of
I said
it.
earlier, he's not saying it's a bad arc by saying that's because, like, if we're gonna use Oodie's terminology, every arc in Naruto is probably a divine 10 out of 10.
Exactly.
But a different arc, like, might be a supreme divine 10 out of 10. You know, like, he's just saying instead of a 10 out of 10, all the other arcs are 11 out of 10 or beyond.
Yeah, my only problem with that arc is the 2 last chapters in the Kakuzu versus Naruto.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
I really would say, honestly, the biggest problem is Kakuzu versus Naruto is the biggest problem.
Yeah, that's the only problem I would say. I really like Hidan and Shikamaru, and even Asuma, which was a character that wasn't even set up beforehand. Like he kind of just shows up in this arc. Of course, you knew him beforehand, but like he never
Yeah, he
had
wasn't
any
a major player.
weight.
Like,
Yeah,
he was like Kurenai until that arc.
pretty much. Yeah.
Hmm.
Like he fought against Kisame a little bit in part 1, and he saved Shikamaru once, but that's the only thing he got. Like he wasn't major, and his death was pretty good.
But even
I
one
kinda
of
feel
the
like Kakuzu was
Go ahead.
always in the background. Like I think Hidan
yeah.
kind of was more so the main villain of that arc. in
I
my
agree.
opinion.
I agree.
Yeah, and that's because Shikamaru was more so the protagonist of that
exactly.
arc.
So
Like,
Shikamaru's
to be honest,
protagonist
like,
and Hidan's
it
the
was
antagonist.
Shikamaru's arc.
So again, this goes back to difference between antagonists and villains. They serve 2 very distinct, different roles. So Kakuzu is the villain, and Hidan is the antagonist, and they both serve their role very well. Kakuzu just doesn't hold up at the very end. And again, it's just comparing the anime versus the manga. The anime does go back and fix a lot of these things. For example, Shikamaru's like best episode, people argue this is one of the best scenes in all of Shippuden, is in this episode, where the color palette's muted, and then Shikamaru's
yeah, he
playing
tosses the
shogi
chessboard.
with his father. Yeah, Shikaku, or is that his? Yeah, Shikaku. Yeah.
Shukaku.
Yeah.
Is Shukaku is the tail beast? Shikaku is.
Well, prove Shukaku isn't Shikamaru's dad. I'll wait.
Okay.
Shikaku is Shikamaru's dad. Shukaku is the tail beast. Everyone says it wrong.
That episode was actually animated very well. They definitely increased the animation budget for that one, and it shows. Like it's a really good episode.
Yeah, I
and
think they
again,
got a different director for that episode. So
Yeah.
it's
Mhm.
technically
Yeah,
filler.
Definitely.
So, yeah, it's not just not in the
But
manga.
do you like that? Do you like that arc better than the one with the Gara?
Yeah. I just think it has
No, he
more
likes
highs in the
he likes
Kakuzu
the
arc.
Gaara one better.
Like the Gara,
Yeah.
he likes the Gara one better.
Yeah, the
Okay.
Kazekage
See,
rescue mission
I
is more
despise
highs.
that Gara art.
Is it because of the pacing?
It's
Because
so
that'd just be an
boring.
anime
Well,
problem. The manga does it better.
It's the pacing, but then also like I feel like Naruto. So see, for me, Naruto never really becomes like the guy until the Pain Invasion arc. So
That's
Naruto
true. That's
is-
very true.
Yeah, he's just so
All the
boring
more
and
reason
like
the Pain Invasion arc is good. Shout out to Oodie for being an idiot about hating it.
up until that point. I like the Sakura stuff. That was pretty cool.
Dang.
Yeah.
That was like peak Sakura. Literally, that was the only time she was a really really good character, and then she just
Whoa,
she
pause,
kind of
pause,
forgets
pause.
about her.
No.
Definitely one of her.
Sakura's
Him
always
Kim's
been
gonna
the
have
best.
some issues.
I
with
like
that.
her.
Yeah.
Yeah, she babbed mommy Kagu.
Oh yeah, she punches Kage, therefore
Yeah,
she
just bapped on
blitzes
So,
Shippuden.
I mean, I don't know. Yeah, she has the chakra surpassing 6-pass Sage Mode, 6-pass Ninjutsu Naruto Shadow Clone. That's interesting. But
Look,
Kind of a
without
wild
her,
statement, but yeah.
Naruto
No, I
would
actually
not
really like
have
Sakura.
survived. Okay.
True.
I mean, she was stuck her hand in his chest to pump his heart to do CPR. What a wonderful
great
human
scene.
being.
That was a great.
Okay.
I don't think anyone here dislikes Sakura.
Well,
It's a shame that in the anime that was very poorly animated.
look,
Like
I
the
see- I
heart
see
in the
red.
anime looked.
I
Yeah.
still just see red when I hear anybody badmouth Sakura. Okay.
I think
Good.
part 1 Sakura got all the hate a few years back. But ever
Yeah.
since like the Boruto era, people have been kind of simping over her. So I think she's like, I mean, I think the top 99 vote kind of speaks for itself.
yeah.
I think Sakura's pretty up there.
Well,
I
yeah,
like
all the women who like on Twitter are just like we had voting parties to vote for Sakura on like a couple days out of the week.
Crazy.
Like Sakura's not the best female character in Naruto. They should have chosen like Tsunade or somebody else.
I think
Yeah,
Sakura
I like Tsunade
is
better.
Tsunade's
one of the
interesting.
best female characters just based on her growth alone, and she's super relatable to women. You know, we all
I
have
think
that.
Tsunade is probably the best though, off the top of my head anyway.
Yeah, but Tsunade is kind of I don't want to say she's one-dimensional, but I think Sakura is.
She
a
has
lot
less
more
of a
relatable,
character arc.
especially because the audience,
Tsunade does.
because
actually
Naruto's
disagree.
fan base is like young people, so I think Sakura's more relatable because of that.
Tsunade has like that tragedy in her past that kind of I think people resonate with when it comes to Naruto because everyone seems to have
Yeah.
like a tragic backstory. Where Sakura, she kind of doesn't. It's just kind of like I'm in love with a boy, he doesn't love me back. I can understand. from,
I
like,
think
a
that's
female
fine to be
perspective.
honest. I don't think
how you
that's
can vibe
that's
with that.
very that's bad, but the problem is that Sakura's kind of forgotten many times. Like she could have done many more interesting things. I actually like a lot when she confesses her fake love to Naruto. I think that seems very interesting.
Thank you.
And a lot of people hate her
We're
for
the
that
only
scene.
two in the world.
Hey, no, I think it's
interesting house though. I'm curious.
I think the way she comes to that conclusion, like she has to lie to Naruto because Sasuke has become, a big problem, and the only way she sees to make Naruto feel maybe better or to actually not go after Sasuke anymore is to say that she loves him because Sakura knows Naruto's had a crush on her forever, and she kind of exploits that emotion. But Naruto, he senses the bullshit and he doesn't fall for it. Which
for me, the idea behind it I like, but I don't. Naruto just
The
immediately knew
execution.
she wasn't telling the truth. I feel like for me it was just kind of like it didn't do anything. like the idea, especially leading up to it with Sai
No, I think
pointing
I
out
think maybe
how
just like
Naruto's
the
been troubled by
sentiment
this
behind it
vow
matters.
he made to her. I
Yeah.
felt like the lead up to it was good, but I feel like when it actually happened, I was just like, "Bruh, this is clearly fake." Like I don't know. Like
it's a conclusion that a 16, 17-year-old girl would come to by herself. You know, if she had an adult that was guiding her, maybe she wouldn't have done it, but she's out here just trying to do the best she can in that situation. And I think it's great that Naruto's like there's no bad blood. He's just like, okay, I understand your intentions, we're all good, kind of thing. So
I just find it disappointing that, like, after all this happens, after Hinata confesses her love to Naruto in the war, Minato arrives in the battlefield, says, "Oh, is that your
Yeah.
girlfriend?" And Naruto says, "Oh yeah, that's my girlfriend." Like, why?
this is after Neji died too, so this is after
Yeah.
Naruto was holding it. Yeah, so this is a separate discussion. I think Naruto and Hinata should have been set up far sooner. I don't think Naruto the Last should have been necessary for the relationship. Like, they could have the movie, they could have some relationship-y things in it, but like, they should have already been like clearly set up. It's like, by the time you get to Naruto the Last, they just restarted from zero again. That's how it feels. I'm like,
No, yeah,
they were
and,
already
like-
being set up in the tuning exams. They were already starting to build that bond. Then they do some like jokes at the beginning of Shippuden. Then they have the Pain Arc moment. I feel like after the Pain Arc thing, it should have been like a lot more set up than it was. Then, and this is another thing. If you're gonna have Neji die for that purpose, at least actually do it instead of saving it for the movie. Like, or just don't have him die then. Like, that's
No,
a separate
and
topic.
she
but
dies
still.
for Naruto. She literally, I mean, she doesn't die, but she might as well have died for Naruto there. And she literally says, "I love you, Naruto." Naruto doesn't talk to her after that. Like, why?
Like, when I do like Sakura hugging Naruto at the end of the Pain Arc, but I also would have liked if Naruto then moved on and hugged Hinata at the end and said thank you or something. Just said, like, I'm
Yeah.
so glad you're safe.
Yeah.
Something like he has that moment where he's like, oh, I'm so glad Hinata's safe, because Kakuzu tells him, or he senses there or whatever. But like, he should have gone up to her and said something. Like,
Man.
that should have been like a big moment. They don't have to start dating yet, but like, he should have at least been like, yo, I'm glad you're
I
alive.
mean, yeah, it writes itself. Like, it can make so many like funny rom-com scenes. Like, oh, she said she loves me, but I don't know what to do now. Like, it's very easy. Kishimoto, he seems a little embarrassed to do romance. I think, I don't know. That's the vibe I get. Like, he always avoids it.
Yeah, I mean, he's admitted that, but
Yeah, Isayama's kind of the same way too. So
But Kamui, I don't want to move away
I
from
don't
this.
know.
It sounds like Kamui. It sounds like you're telling me that the Pain Arc sucks. Maybe. It sounds like something like that.
no. I'm actually my gripe is with the War Arc, because the War Arc is when Naruto says that Sakura is his girlfriend.
stop trying to manipulate Kamui. Okay.
He deserves it. That's
Oodie,
what he gets.
Right now, you would never be able to convince me that my favorite arc is.
The worst arc?
I mean, why would the Pain Arcs? I want to.
Oh, don't get us started.
We're gonna be here for like
All
another
day.
2 hours.
Yeah, I can tell you right now, if we discuss this, you guys will no longer be guests. It will just be me and Oodie.
No, I made a
Is it because
14-page
of the Rinatensei?
manifesto. It's for a lot of
it's just
reasons.
Oodie's just wrong.
Oodie
Jiraiya
doesn't-
is the one
he
who's
doesn't
wrong.
like-
No,
Yeah.
Oodie, you're the one
Okay,
who's
let's
wrong.
be
Yeah,
nice. Okay,
I know,
guys.
I know. Like, let me ask you
Wait,
this. Wait, hold on.
Do you guys not
Nobody
like the
interrupt
War
me.
Arc? I think somebody said that.
Oh no, I like the war.
Good
I like
pivot.
the
I don't
Miller.
like Kaguya, but I like the War Arc.
I'm trying to save your
Except for
podcast.
Kaguya.
So you
that
won't.
was great moment.
Well, hold on. I wanted to ask Dygo a goofy question to see what he would answer. So, Dygonight, okay.
Mhm.
Did Jiraiya think he was the child of prophecy,
Oh,
or did he
no.
think he had a student who was the child of prophecy? Which is the correct answer? We all know the answer.
Or
but
maybe it's
answer
just both. Wow, who could have guessed?
No.
It's
Oodie,
almost like the
Oodie,
world
Oodie,
isn't
Oodie.
black and white, Kamui, but go ahead, Daigo.
It was
It's
Kashi
almost
Koji.
like it's a panel where he directly states it.
I mean, Ogama Senin literally tells Jiraiya, "You're gonna have a student that can bring
Right.
balance, or they can destroy everything." He wasn't the child of
Oodie
prophecy.
claims that Jiraiya thinks he's the child of prophecy.
No. that
Wait,
was never
Wait,
the
you mean
story.
that
Are we
idiot
getting
Toad?
there?
Well, we're just gonna believe frogs now?
Oodie. Come
Michigan
on.
J Frog. is still
like the
opposite.
frogs weren't the most useful thing. I mean, hello.
Yeah, when have the frogs been wrong, Oodie?
The freaking frog was talking to Hagoromo back in the episode. He knows some stuff.
No, that frog's a scam artist. It's
Well,
telling
man.
Naruto, oh, you'll fight someone with eyes. Man, who saw that one coming?
So wait, Oodie, coming back to the whole worst arc thing. So real quick, I'm just looking up on some random ass website. It's this fourth Shinobi World War countdown arc. In the manga, what would you consider that to be?
The fourth Shinobi World War
assuming you
countdown
know.
arc. There you go.
No, well, what does that span from? When does that start roughly?
There's
and
no
roughly?
arc. That's just a fan name. That doesn't exist.
Okay, so after the
Oh
Five
my
Kage
God.
Summit, when is the next arc?
Be like
The war
Naruto's
arc.
training arc now.
Okay.
No,
Well, Naruto
yeah,
had,
but
like, a
there's like
little training
it's an
thing.
entire setup. Like it's a lot of setup
alright,
chapters
yeah.
because
Oodie,
the war arc's gonna
Oodie.
be like 500 chapters.
Okay, but like from a technical standpoint, like what is the next arc? Like, what does the series decide the next arc is? Whether or not you think screenwriting-wise it is or not, just what does the author himself say the next arc is?
The war arc. So Kamui, it's like chapter 1 of Naruto. So Kamui,
Okay.
what's the first arc of Naruto?
Okay,
What's the arc
all I
before
want
the
to
Land of
confirm
Waves?
So I could see if there was a worse arc. Okay, so now can you explain why you think Hinata Kakuzu is the worst arc?
What do you mean? What does that have to do with that?
Just I wanted to know if there was a arc I would definitively say was worse.
D-
If there is no arc after the Hokage Summit that I can,
No.
like, because basically, like, I know the anime, for example, they have the filler arc on the boat that doesn't exist in the manga, but hypothetically, if it did, and that was an arc, I would say, okay, well, that's obviously worse. But if there is no arc in that section, then I can't point to an obvious choice.
Well,
That's
really,
all.
Do
Kamui,
you
That's the
not
only reason
like
I'm
that
asking.
section? Because that section is actually, I find it very interesting. I don't know.
Well, I don't think there's any like, I don't hate it for any reason, but I would probably say that it's not as good as the Hinata and Kakuzu arc, so that's fine.
Well, Kamui, breaking down the war arc. So the war arc technically itself is just wrong. Like, the war arc isn't an arc. It's actually 3 different arcs that are just unnamed. So you got the war arc
That's
part 1,
true,
war arc
yeah,
part 2,
that's
war
true.
arc part 3. This goes back to, again, screenwriting, to where you have distinct starts and ends and middle points
I
and all
agree
these
with
other
that, I know,
things
but
within the war arc. So yeah.
I agree with that. That's not why I was asking that question.
If
But
anything,
we
that
can
kind of helps
ignore
you
that.
out.
But my question now is, why do you think the Hinata and Kakuzu arc is the worst arc of Naruto?
It's just the pacing of the ending in the manga specifically. Like, I'm
Okay.
only doing manga in this case.
War arc is
I'd probably-
probably like
Oh, go
slightly
ahead, Miller.
below the Pain Invasion arc to me.
Yeah.
It's like the second best arc.
The thing about the war arc is that, like, if you consider all those chapters a single arc, you can find the best stuff from Naruto in those chapters, and also the worst stuff from Naruto. So the war arc is very, if you consider all those like 200 plus chapters, one arc, very, you know,
Yeah, I mean,
it's a roller
really,
coaster
like,
essentially.
almost half of it's 1/3 of the entire series.
Yeah.
You got your read One Piece, okay? Those arcs last for years. We still in the Wano arc. No, I feel like I don't know, like that's the arc, especially the anime fleshes it out really well to where one of my big complaints for Shippuden was the side characters got shafted. And then in the war arc in the anime in particular, they don't. They get like moments to shine. Brief moments, but moments nevertheless. I think that's pretty cool. You get the 7 Ninja Swordsmen, all the reanimated Shinobi from the past, big moments that you've been like big payoffs. Sakura has her turn up moments with the new deadlock. It's just so many epic moments in that war arc. Every single time I go back to Shippuden and I want to like, I always find myself gravitating towards that arc, like first and foremost, even before Pain, which is my favorite arc. It's something about that arc is just so entertaining. It's very cool.
Very glad you said the Pain arc was your favorite. You spitting facts.
Oh yeah, it's just the philosophy stuff in there that you can kind of draw.
Yeah,
from it.
that's definitely. I think most people at least have that in their. I don't know though. The tuning exams and Sasuke retrieval arc are 2 really popular ones.
My
For that
favorite is the
as well.
Sasuke retrieval arc.
Oh,
Yeah, I
Sasuke
really
Thank
like
you,
those
same.
arc as well.
Absolutely. Sasuke
The
retrieval arc.
Sasuke retrieval one kind of grew on me as I got older, but when I
That's
was
one of
a
my
kid, I
favorites,
hated
for
that arc.
sure.
It was so boring.
Not only
Really?
is it the end of
I
part
love that
1,
arc.
I'd argue it's one of the better paced arcs, which is huge for me. I love pacing, especially as a screenwriter. And then it has some of the highest highs of the series, not only in terms of choreography, music, but also just finishing the character arcs. It wraps up everything perfectly.
You mean
It's
the
really
manga?
It, anime or manga.
I
Just
think he was
Sasuke
talking
retrieval
anime
arc.
when he said music.
Yeah.
I think there's just so many really good, especially if you want to talk about side characters. I mean, Choji, Neji, Shikamaru, and Kiba all had major moments. I mean, honestly, pretty much their last big special moments in the series. Sure, they have some moments in the war arc, nothing on that level. Like Neji, for example, his fight with Kidomaru is a way bigger moment for Neji than like fighting a white Zetsu or something. You know what I mean? Like that was
That
his
fight
big
was
moment.
so boring, bro. Like when
I love that fight.
when I was a kid, like the Kiba stuff, the Shikamaru stuff, like all those fights were so boring. Even the Choji stuff. The only thing I liked was the Drunken Fist stuff, because I mean, come on, that was fire.
That was funny.
The Gaara
Well,
stuff.
did
with,
you like
Kimaru
strategy as much back then as a kid, though?
Um,
Because Neji versus Kidomaru is literally just a very
Yeah.
strategical fight. So if
I
you
mean,
didn't
all
like
those fights are
strategy as
great.
a kid, that would explain it. But if you did like strategy, I'm not sure why you would hate it.
You're probably comparing it to
Nah,
Dragon Ball, which came on right after.
I can't really like get inside of my like little kid head, but I do feel like
Yeah, you know.
like my thing with Neji, and I always wanted him to fight Sasuke, but I just wanted to see
Oh
like the
yeah,
taijutsu.
dude, I wish too.
Yeah.
Yeah, like they took away the thing that he does that was so cool, and then like how he won, he just funneled his chakra through a string. It was like, that's kind of whack. Like I wanted to see him like throw some hands, dodge, parry, like box, and like throw. I don't know. I just wanted to see him go out. I wanted him to do like the Rock Lee stuff.
But I will say
The
though,
thing
I will-
is,
I
like,
can agree with that, but I also will say the nice thing about it though is Neji was at such a disadvantage against this guy who was very smart, but he still managed to win, which is kind of nice. Like he couldn't use his best asset, but he still won.
the thing about that fight is that Kishimoto made the powers so well, like how they interact with each other, Neji and Kidomaru. I think this is probably like the second most interesting fight in terms of how the powers interact. The first one being Sasuke versus Deidara. And
I really
it's
like
so
that one,
interesting to
yeah.
see that. Like,
Wait, in the-
yeah,
in the
it
series?
was a taijutsu fight because Kidomaru is a ranged fighter, but that's I think why it was so interesting because Neji was out of his comfort zone. I mean, it was like a 10 out of 10 high difficulty fight, I would say. Like,
I mean,
it was...
I would say, Mello, to your point, I think we should have gone that fight and the Sasuke versus Neji. We should have just gone both.
Yeah, that's Sasuke versus Neji was I think set up from the very start.
The problem was they had too
He's
many.
not the
I mean,
strongest genin and stuff
realistically,
like that.
they had
It's
too many
opportunity.
people being set up to fight each other. Because Naruto was set up to fight Neji, Neji was set up to fight Gaara, Sasuke was set up to fight Neji, Rock Lee was set up to fight Neji. Literally everyone was set up to fight Neji. There's only so many people Neji could fight.
I think it was like really a setup. It was just like the characters trying to get into the mindset of, okay, who do I want to battle, like kind of thing. Who
Well,
do
I
I
mean,
want to
the
go
thing
up
was
against?
it was supposed to be like the two top rookies face off. But
Yeah,
I mean, at the end of the
that's
day,
the thing.
because Neji was at the top, he was kind of like sort of people behind that.
Oh,
But
God.
story arc wise, Naruto was the big one. I would say Rock Lee as well, but Rock Lee just had to fight Gaara instead. They couldn't both fight in the preliminaries.
I feel like
Plus, if
there
you
was
want to
no
take
room
Rock
for
Lee, he
Sasuke.
loses. I feel like Rock Lee losing to Neji would have been so heartbreaking. Dude, imagine, yeah, Rock Lee uses the fifth gate, he still loses to Neji.
you know what's
God.
funny though? I think Rock Lee versus Neji would have been a better fight than Rock Lee versus Gaara, in my opinion. Because all Gaara did was just stand there and just move sand around. The fight's pretty dope, but Rock Lee was doing so much of the lifting there in that fight. There's some strategic
Definitely.
moments that I like, but it's all Rock Lee. So could you imagine like that taijutsu clash between like the gentle fist and that?
Yeah,
more
but that's like the point. Like Rock Lee is essentially sweating blood to win, and Gaara is just like standing there, arms crossed, not doing anything, and he beats
Shows the
Rock Lee.
difference
That's the
in power.
You also
Yeah,
gotta
yeah,
consider, like, who else could
It's not.
who else
It's not
would
to
Gaara
suggest
have
that the fight
fought
wasn't good, though.
narratively? Like narratively though, like who else could Gaara have fought? Okay, if he fights Sasuke, Sasuke dies. If he fights Naruto, Naruto dies. Unless he unleashes Kurama. Neji would have been a good fight, but they needed both Gaara and Neji to win essentially, so that doesn't work.
I'm
that's
not sure if
kind of the
Neji had
problem.
rotation back then. I'm not sure, but
I think he learned it after, if I'm not wrong.
It's implied he learns it over the
yeah, it's
training.
implied, but we never know.
Or-
Like he could have.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't know
beforehand,
when
but-
he learned. Like, we don't really know when he learned everything he learned. We just know that he was the top dog. Like,
I mean, if Kishimoto needed him to have the rotation beforehand, he would give Neji the rotation beforehand. That's not really the problem here. It's just that the contrast between Gaara and Lee is like the main point. Gaara has everything. He has that beast inside of him and the talent, while Rock Lee essentially has nothing. But then
I
he
don't
is
think
a splendid
it's
ninja because of
perfect-
his hard
It's
work.
also a perfect exemplification of ninjutsu versus taijutsu, because the point is Rock Lee doesn't
Wait,
have
is Kamui's
ninjutsu to be
mic-
used taijutsu. Gaara is only using a ninjutsu here. If he fights Neji, it's taijutsu versus taijutsu.
I think like this line of like conversation is fine, but that's not really the point I was making. Like, I'm not saying the fight was bad. I'm just saying in comparison to, because I think Neji has like basically narratively the same thing Gaara has in terms of him being like this elite versus like
Yes. They
the-
were
the-
the
the
two
underdog.
elite.
Right. So I think narratively the same thing would apply. It's just that you would have gotten far more entertaining fight when it comes to the choreography. Now, obviously, when you want to get someone into Naruto, it's like the old meme: show them the Neji versus Gaara fight. We all know it's peak. But I'm just saying, in comparison to the Rock Lee versus Neji, I think that probably would have been a better marquee match.
Well, I guess there's another problem though. So in this hypothetical situation, like, is Hinata fighting Gaara? Okay, I mean, but
that could work actually.
That's the thing. But there's two people that Kiba says to forfeit against. It's Neji or Gaara. So
this would just be like writing. You set it up in a way that it works
can
out.
have the whole like I won't give up thing, but the problem is Neji did go for the kill on Hinata in the end. Gaara's doing it immediately, so Hinata's just going to die in that arc.
Yeah, but I think all of that could have been done like in the Forest of Death, even then, to where like Sasuke could have a clash with Neji there to a certain degree, or the stuff with Hinata and Neji happens there. I mean, she doesn't really do much after that anyways, but get packed. So I mean, the motivation for Naruto can still exist there. But all you would have to do is just write it in a way that makes it all make sense. But more so,
yeah, I mean that is true.
I think it works.
Instead of
tricky.
Forest of Death,
I honestly just
I
wish
think
they just had their fight at some other point.
instead of Lee fighting Sasuke at the beginning of the tuning exams arc, like before even the first test, you could have just had a Neji fight him there and then just beat him up. And then later, if you want to have Neji versus Sasuke, it's sort of like a rematch there, so it's more set up that way. Because we didn't see much of Lee versus Sasuke really outside of that. So.
That would be pretty cool.
Neji fighting Sasuke there would be very out of character. He wouldn't be like looking for a confrontation before the exams, so he's more level-headed than Rock Lee was.
Instigating it more than anything, I feel like.
That's what Neji doesn't. A 2v2.
Oh.
So if Rock Lee's instigating and then Neji gets inadvertently drawn into it, then you can get your match that way.
That could work, I guess.
And Rock Lee versus Gaara is also there because sorry, not Gaara versus Sasuke. It has to be there because Sasuke has to for Gaara versus Sasuke and him to learn Chidori and all that kind of stuff too.
Yeah. I will say though, as far as the Forest of Death part goes, you would definitely have to change the characters' mindsets, because in the Forest of Death, Neji, Lee, literally any of the Leaf villagers for that matter, aren't picking fights with the Leaf village. In fact, like, Neji goes out of his way to just like not fight them. He's just like, yeah, I don't care. Like, Rock Lee helps out Team 7. Neji shows up. He's not planning on stealing the scroll from Team 7. You know what I mean? Like, they're not in it to beat each other up until they have to in the finals.
But isn't that fine though? Like, we can change their motivations.
They would do it. You just have to just change their mindset.
Yeah, that's not a problem. Like, I mean, even ever so slightly, because the whole idea of this conversation is a what if scenario, right? So we can definitely tweak some things to get them where we want them to be. I think.
Yeah, I almost think having Gaara's fight in the having Gaara have the big fight in the Forest of Death almost might work better, because Gaara is the type who will kill. So the stakes are actually raised more in the Forest of Death.
The thing is, if you were to give Sasuke and Neji, it would probably have to be in the Forest of Death, because it wouldn't work in the arena exams, because there's a specific type of matchup that has to happen there, like Naruto has to fight Neji.
But there's also another, this is my personal problem, is that Neji stomps any version of Sasuke before the finals.
No, yeah, and that's the thing. That's the thing. Like, it could have been a stomp for Sasuke to get a wake up call, and like, oh, okay, there's a guy that's way stronger than I am.
Yeah, that's fine.
Wouldn't demand that at all. Like,
and then maybe you could work in a matchup like a rematch later, but
yeah, you could also throw Kabuto in there.
Beat up Sasuke, in fairness.
Kabuto's sort of a wild card. It doesn't really make sense for him to help Sasuke get through the Forest of Death and then stop. Like, he either should have stopped after the Orochimaru fight. In that case, you don't even introduce Kabuto. Or he should have gone through with the prelims as well, because Sasuke still has the chance of fighting at that point. So it would just be more for Orochimaru.
I mean, Kabuto literally, he wanted to kill Sasuke. Gonna kill Sasuke.
Almost implied, so it's implied by Orochimaru, like, he's teasing Kabuto about the fact that Kabuto wants to stop Orochimaru. Kabuto talks like he wishes like Sasuke wasn't in the situation he's in, and how they're both like in Orochimaru's clutches, and like it almost seems like he's going to kill him, but then Kakashi shows up. That's like the implication kind of being drawn there. And Kabuto looks worried when Orochimaru's calling him out, but then later in the series, like, Kabuto is just all for Orochimaru. Anything Orochimaru says and does, that's all he cares about. Like, it's a complete 180 from those short moments. Which I honestly think largely is just a dropped thing from Kishimoto. Like,
Yeah.
he was thinking about having Kabuto be, because that would have worked if Kabuto actually betrayed Orochimaru, not Sasuke. Like, if Kabuto was the one who killed him, which I wouldn't have minded at all, to be honest. But he did drop that. Instead, Kabuto just was he admired Orochimaru like I don't think Kobe does. He worships the Otsutsuki like the same way, because he gave him an identity and blah blah blah. But yeah, he kind of just changed his mind, to be honest. But I don't know. That's a good what if. Do you think that would have been cool if Kabuto killed Orochimaru? Because I think it would have been cool.
I don't think we need that because Orochimaru was a
kind
better
of lame
villain.
back then.
Yeah, Kabuto's one of my lesser favorite characters. So
Kabuto
I
sucked
think,
back then, too.
yeah, of course, Kishimoto didn't have Kabuto's character planned out in that part of the story. Otherwise, Kabuto wouldn't have tried that type of stuff because that's very out of character for him.
Yeah.
Like, he becomes a lapdog afterwards. But I think if Kishimoto had decided to make Kabuto this more gray villain that doesn't necessarily agree with Orochimaru, could have been very interesting.
There was room for it because, like I said, there's that part 1 implications with Kabuto, and then the fact of the matter is Kabuto becomes a bigger character in the war arc. Like, he's one of the main players. So having Kabuto, in my opinion at least, having Kabuto be built up to actually take down Orochimaru, not because he's a good guy, but because he's going to become the bigger bad guy,
That's
could
true.
have worked. Like, I think
even still, I would have preferred it for Orochimaru.
Going into the war arc, like, now he's doing his shit the way he wants or something. Like, I think there was definitely room for that.
I would have preferred if Orochimaru was the character who used the Edo Tensei during the war arc instead of Kabuto, because Kabuto, the way he was built up, wasn't very interesting to me, and you definitely needed somebody as intimidating as Orochimaru for that part of the story. At least, I mean, it's interesting what Kabuto gets, like his backstory and stuff in the war, but I think Orochimaru being in his place would have been much cooler to see.
Yeah, the question is how we're gonna. Let me have to change the dynamic leading up to it. So like what? All right. So does Orochimaru still quote unquote die versus Sasuke and come out versus Itachi? If so, then Orochimaru's got to escape that fight.
I mean, yeah, you could plan it out to make more sense, but like,
yeah,
Kishimoto just decides to invent the Uzumaki mask to bring back the Hokage in war arc. So like, Orochimaru just comes back. It's fine. Like the way he comes back from Anko makes no sense either if you think about it.
Yeah.
But like,
yeah, how Sasuke even knew to do that too. But yeah, I guess I would say either I would have preferred. Granted, like I said, I love Naruto as a whole. I don't really give a shit. But like, I think I would have either rather Kabuto be built up more, so he probably does take down Orochimaru in this case and be really set up as a big guy, or just have Orochimaru take that spot instead and change the events leading up to it. But then the question is, what does Kabuto do in that case? I guess he just is.
Orochimaru would have been better overall. You would have got like a rematch with Sasuke and Itachi as well. It would have been way cooler.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, like both of them technically killed him at one point, and he would have got like that rematch against both of them. It just could have been better.
That would have been fire, actually.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, if you remember the first time Orochimaru showed up in the, like when I was like at 9 and watched that for the first time, that was scary. Like Orochimaru is the only Naruto villain that has a real horror vibe to him, and I think they should have brought that back to the war. Could have made the arc more interesting, I think.
Yeah, that would have been fun. I like the idea of Itachi and Sasuke.
You think so?
Fighting Dragon Sage Orochimaru. That would have been cool.
I think Kakuzu was pretty
That would have been so cool.
Kakuzu and Hidan had this Halloween thing going on with the whole weird voodoo doll thing.
Literally called a zombie duo.
But...
So
yeah.
I feel like they were a little bit more intimidating than Orochimaru.
I say it sucks that the arc got cut the way it was, because Kishimoto says in like an interview at some point that I don't know about, that he originally had more ideas for their abilities and powers. So like they would have been stronger and more diverse than they already were, which I wish I could have seen like what they would have had.
They're probably the best duo in my opinion. Those two, in terms of like entertainment, like the banter.
Entertainment wise, they were really good. I like
entertainment. I'm giving Datara and Toby.
That's
true
think
too.
For funniness, Datara and Toby for me easily, but Hidan and Kakuzu are good. Like Hidan is funny. He's the second.
The thing is, like, Kakuzu is interesting, but his character, like, he doesn't have a lot of charisma. Like Hidan is carrying that duo in terms of charisma and the character you're eager to see. Like Kakuzu, he has cool powers and he's interesting, but
part of the reason why it's so comedic is because it's so black and white different. Like Kakuzu's this super deep voice, super serious guy, and then Hidan's this like super charismatic, wacky dude. Like it's the contrast between them is part of the reason why it's so entertaining. That's kind of the point.
Yeah, it's supposed to be set up that way to where one's a little bit more flamboyant and the other one's a little bit more reserved. Like yeah, in famous comedy duos, it's actually a thing. But I think that's why it works as well. But also, Kakuzu is he's subtly funny when he's paired up with Hidan in particular. Because he'll make he'll say something that is funny, but he'll be like really plain faced. It's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Yeah. I like
the thing about Kakuzu, like when he comes back in the work, he's like a cardboard box. He's not interesting at all. Like Hidan, he needed Hidan to be interesting, essentially.
I was disappointed in the lack of Kakuzu in the war arc. Like, I'd almost venture to say the lack of the Akatsuki in general in the war arc, because they didn't do a whole lot. Like Sasori is the biggest culprit. I mean, he just got told that his puppets are beautiful, and like he went away. And then Deidara kind of got
Deidara's
shut
whack
down
too.
pretty early.
Everybody got that strong.
Just think about this for a more strategic perspective. If you were Kabuto and if you wanted to destroy the entire alliance,
Starts off, he's stealing some people's hearts, but then Choji gets mad and squishes them.
Send Deidara, and use C4 in the middle of the alliance. Everyone dies.
I would have liked Deidara like being like a big player.
Yeah.
I would say like for Neji, for example, at no point in time was he ever set to be able to defeat Kisame or something. But like now have them like do it or something. Like maybe Rock Lee actually fights Kisame, although they have to go find his. I guess Kisame's not really an option. If they hypothetically got his,
No, they could bring Kisame back, but Kishimoto, he says it himself. Like he didn't want to bring that many characters back because it would make problems for the story. Also, characters like Shisui and Jiraiya, they would have opened cans of worms, like with Naruto and Itachi, that he just didn't want to, so he didn't bring them back.
Yeah, well, I get why he didn't. And Kisame is pretty much like the one. Kisame and Konoha are pretty much not options because like Kabuto already had his army and they died later on away from Kabuto, so they weren't really options. But it probably would have been better if they had less numbers but greater quality. So like the 7 Ninja Swordsmen, just have them do more than they did instead of having 50,000, Edo Tensei have half as many, but they each do double the work.
I don't know, bro. I think that arc is pretty cool. I mean, zombie Shinobi. I mean, that concept alone is pretty dope.
Yeah, I like their abilities. That's why I said I really wish I could have seen what else Kishimoto had in mind for them. Also, this is tragic, but I wish Hidan's rope thingy never got broken because Hidan versus Asuma, if you watch that fight, dude, Hidan's doing some cool shit with that rope. I don't even know what he's physically doing when he's doing.
Like the metal rope that's like attached to his
rope
thighs.
thing that he just like freaking does anti-physics with. It was really cool though. Like I don't know how he's doing what he's doing, but it was cool. And then he loses the rope, and then it's not as cool as. So like, I wish he kept his rope thing.
It's kind of like Obito too. He used that like chain rope
the chains. Yeah,
in the Minato fight.
Away.
Yeah,
That's like dude, that was the freaking coolest thing you had.
Yeah, Obito with his chains is
it's
way
not that
cooler.
big of a deal.
I mean, Obito with his chains solos literally anyone but Minato. Minato's the only one Obito with chains can't take out.
That's why they got rid of him. But,
bro, no, bro. Mike Guy's packing that dude, bro. Stop this. Nah, base Mike Guy with his nunchaku? Come on now, bro.
Get base Mike
but, like,
Guy
if you get
past
in
Edo
the-
Madara first.
Bro, listen, base Mike Guy was fighting dude, bro. He was fighting. He was trying to capture Naruto. Base Guy pulls out the nunchaku, went ham. It was a whole thing.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
the
if
problem is the
Obito had chains,
like,
it's over.
I mean, Mike Guy could probably like open the 7th gate and escape him or something. But like, if Obito just keeps putting him in the chains, like eventually he's gonna run out of energy trying to break him open.
No, see, but he had the Gamba Uchiwa, okay? The Uchiha battle fan. That's way better than that.
He didn't
thing.
do
And that thing
anything
had-
with only
had
Madara
chains on it,
used.
too.
The chains are
Yeah, Obito was using that as a literal fan. He did.
Yeah, he was just like
I might
waving
as well
around.
use
That's
it.
cool.
I don't know.
He was just
cool
doing
with
it
this
cool
thing.
himself.
You wanna know
He got
why
sweaty.
he didn't
That's
do
all he
anything
did.
though? Because of Mike Guy and his nunchaku. It's like Sasuke with his Rinnegan abilities and board, so it's no use. Don't even use the abilities. It's just useless. Mike Guy's
Really,
that
I
guy.
think it would have been very useful if he absorbed Mushiki's Takami moves of Inokami. Just saying. I think absorbing that attack would have been helpful.
You know, the most tragic thing, Boruto, Mitsuki, and Sarada solos, all these like Akatsuki duos. Okay. If I throw Kawaki in there, that'll be overkill. But I'm just gonna throw those.
This is why people don't like the war,
yeah.
not because of the power clipping. They think it's all one big arc, like I was saying, instead of 3 arcs. But the war arc, even if you do want to consider it one big arc, it doesn't have slow pacing. It does one thing after another. Like, it has some of the greatest highs in all of Naruto, and it's just one after one. It does so many things that it doesn't even have time to visually explain everything that's happening. Like, Obito just keeps his 6 paths powers after losing the 10 tails, I guess. And like we were saying earlier, Obito just takes out a second 10 tails, I guess. There's just so many things that just I don't want to say don't make sense, but just aren't explained in the war arc, and people are like, oh, it's so slow pacing, when they don't even take the time to stop to actually explain what's actually happening.
No, it's not slow pacing is the problem. It's that there's an entire manga's worth in 1/3 of the manga. Like, there's just
the
so
problem,
much content.
like, it also didn't start off very well, because before Naruto fights Itachi and Nagato, the war arc's not that good. Because you're fighting Genkaku and Kinkaku, you're fighting the 7 Ninja Swordsmen. Kakashi versus Zabuza, I guess there's like that nostalgia
I think
connected to the fight, but
Ninja Swordsman thing was really cool. I just think that they should have just done more with it.
That's the only
all of it
time
was cool,
Kakashi
man.
canonically...
like, who cares about Hanzo versus Mifune? Who likes that? Cares about that?
You know, honestly, I don't care about Mifune,
I'll
but
give you that one.
Hanzo at least was interesting to me because, like, in the Pain arc, Hanzo was described as being like this legendary figure. Sadly, he decided to stop training and got weak. But I would have liked to have seen Prime Hanzo, the one that Jiraiya was gassing up. That's what I wanted from him.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'll give you that one, the Mifune thing. I think it's interesting if you kind of look in the future with the whole Tsubaki from Boruto, the samurai girl. That's the exchange, whatever. That gets interesting.
Wait, who's that?
But
Is that
Boruto
an anime character?
Yeah.
It's an anime only character, right? Because I've never heard about that girl before.
Yeah. Tsubaki Kurogane. Miss One.
Oh, she's in the Leaf Village.
Yeah, 1/kill.
Oh, okay. I think I know who she is.
Yeah, but she was trained by Mifune, so that gets pretty interesting. But that's about it. I mean, I'll
Mifune just wasn't interesting.
Also, I mean, Ginkaku and Kinkaku are just probably the 2 most boringest villains in Naruto, and then there's the Asuma versus Shikacho fight, which is a terrible fight. Like, that fight has no point. Like, Asuma has already told him his last words.
Anime, I did not. Choji was pissing me off, dude, in that fight. I was like, bruh, dude, it's fine. He's attacking you, just to restrain him.
Also, Hiyashi versus Hizashi, Tenten versus Kakuzu.
Dude, Kakuzu, I was not thrilled with the lack of Kakuzu in that arc, dude.
Most of those fights
Before
are really
Itachi and Nagato, like, in the manga, yes. In the anime, no. That's
Okay.
the main issue. Like, this part of the arc is actually pretty fast in the manga, which it's better. But
I wanted
in the
more
anime,
from
like,
certain fights. See, the problem is, I wanted more from certain fights. So, for example, something with Kakuzu, something with Deidara, although Deidara does get like a little bit more. But like, I wanted more from the best people, and like, I don't need as much from the randoms. Like, what's the name of that girl that we did for the bingo game, Oodie? The
Azami?
Rainstorm girl.
Who?
No, remember that?
Game.
Mayuri? What?
No, it was
Kikujono?
that girl. The one time Naruto draws blood. You know, remember that
Sakura?
girl's name?
Oh no.
It's a random filler character. It's only in the anime.
weather
but,
girl.
The small girl with green eyes? Green eyes?
The
and
weather
stuff?
girl.
Yeah, so.
I mean,
Yeah,
but that's not complete filler. That's complete. It doesn't
No, I
matter.
know, but I'm gonna use that just as an extreme example. So instead of that, just give me more of like the good fights.
Yeah, but like I think the whole point of them coming back was to demonstrate the progression of the characters. So I just think they were just too strong at that point. Like
No, but like, I mean, the
just
7
couldn't
Ninja
do-
Swordsmen,
contend.
They didn't even fight the old gen. Like, they didn't, so
Yeah.
that doesn't really
They
work.
fought
Now in the
Kakashi.
case of the sound for, yes, that's what that was for.
But that was filler
that was
too.
also-
That wasn't in the manga.
That was a really good
That's
episode, though.
also anime only, but
That could have been manga.
But it doesn't have to be like it doesn't have to encompass the entirety of the arc. I'm just saying, like, I think the themes when it comes to like the Rookie 9 and so on and so forth, like the Naruto's era people, is just to say, hey, like we've gotten so much stronger, so that's why we're like Kankudo's packing up Sasuke.
That didn't
so
happen though,
effortlessly.
because Neji was having trouble with the Zetsu.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm
It
saying.
didn't
It
even
doesn't,
do
have to happen across the board, but when we're talking about like the Akatsuki members that had interactions with certain characters from Naruto's generation, like a Kankudo and a Sasori, or a Kakuzu and Inoshikucho, that theme is more prevalent. And then you get the Sound Ninja stuff in the anime. So when it comes to the interactions, yeah, it's there. But Neji didn't really have that interaction with Akatsuki like that. And if he did say Kisame, he just wasn't there in general.
yeah,
so
that's
he
not
didn't
so
have
the
that
Kisa.
moment.
That's probably for Kisame's case. But
Yeah.
my point isn't necessarily a specific character in general. I'm just saying, like, instead of the complete randoms, I think more focus on some of the coolest of the Tensei would have just been more ideal. So instead of having 100 battles, have 50 longer
It's just a bunch of
But, like,
fights in sequence. There's no
Yeah.
there's no overall strategy that they're implementing. They do a couple of stuff like, oh, this battalion goes there and this here, but it's a literal war. There should have been more strategic planning behind it. Maybe even like people in
What do
the
you mean,
alliance
though?
itself that are not in accord
Yeah,
with
you
what
know,
they're
here's
doing.
another example. I
There was
guess,
a
like,
lot of
so-
strategic planning, though.
I think a lot of people's
well, I was gonna
biggest
say, so
issues
Naruto versus
is
the
the
third
fights
Raikage.
itself.
It's short, but it has like that strategic element.
Yeah, that's like the more personable element
No,
of the fight.
I like the fights in day 2.
The
I like
war-
the day 2 fights.
The
I
day
like
one
the Kage fights.
They're more on like a grand scale, so we don't get to see them personally like Naruto versus the Raikage. That's more of like a 1v1, even though it's not really because the whole rest of the alliance is there. But it doesn't feel like that because you get to see Naruto's perspective. You get to hear inside Naruto's head. You see Naruto fight the third Raikage with everyone else just there. Whereas it's different in like say Tenten versus Kakuzu. That's not Tenten versus Kakuzu.
Yeah.
They're both just there fighting in the background. Like it just so happens to be happening. So again,
Yes.
it's the biggest problem with this I guess War Arc Part 1 is the fights itself because like Mello was saying, like Shukaku is doing a whole bunch of strategy behind the scene with Inoichi and all the other adults. So you get like on the bigger scale, there is a huge element of strategy. If anything, I'd argue this is the biggest strategy. from
like
the whole-
the strategy is the strategy for the entire battalion. Okay, this battalion is gonna go and it's gonna 2 battalions now. They're gonna destroy the Zetsus and the Edo Tensei. So okay, that's like strategy 101, I suppose. Like yeah, you double your forces, you win. But the problem with that too is that the entire war lasts for 2 days in universe, which is insane. You don't get a sense that the world is in danger in day 1 because like there's no time for people to even be afraid of the war because they don't even see it happening. Like it would have been much more interesting if the Edo Tensei army and the Zetsu army were attacking actual cities and civilians instead of just a random beach. And random forests. It's just what I think.
It could have been interesting. Then you would have to add, which would have been good, honestly, adding more to Kabuto's motives. Because, I mean, in terms of the war, their goal is to capture the Biju, not to kill random villages. But in that case, though, for Kabuto, you could add an interesting element where he's just doing his own thing, going off script. That could have been interesting. That said, though, the problem with that is, I mean, like, okay, let's say Datara goes to the Leaf Village. I mean, if Konoha beats Datara, I've got problems. So there is that problem. All the strong ninja were in the war, so I mean the villages are just screwed.
No, but the thing is, like, if you are in a war, you're gonna have like cities where and attacking those cities, like it doesn't have to be a ninja village. It can be a civilian village that they are using as a base. Attacking those cities is a strategic thing for the enemy to do because then you take the bases, you cut off supply lanes. There's this entire thing about war that's completely neglected. Like,
well, yeah, it's neglected because it happened in 2 days, so there were no supply lines. Because it was only 1 day. There were 5.
I mean, I feel like we're okay. So they definitely had strategy, but they didn't do some of the things that we think they should. I think that's fine to say, but there's not a single arc in this like entire franchise that employs more strategy and tactics than the war arc. In everything that it encompasses. I think we can agree on that, right?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's an interesting thing to say because, I mean, like,
it's the longest arc in the. I mean, it's 1/3 of the entire series, so I would hope it has the most collective strategy, like because of just the length of it.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like the entire franchise, like because number one, the formations and like who's like the leader of said formations. Where you have your close range fighters, your mid range, and then long range.
That's one thing that also makes absolutely no sense because they group together the close range fighters and that 20,000 people with range fighters, and then they kind of like you wouldn't send an entire battalion with one type of troop in a real war. You want some variety. You want an air force. You want the ground force, like to make your attack potency different. Because if you only have one type of fighter in a specific battle, you're gonna get slaughtered by a hard counter.
So like number one, like most of the battalions, they were comprised of mostly certain types of people, but there were different types in there, right? Like certain fighters would be really good against like I think maybe the wild card here would be like the Akatsuki with those with Kabuto, but when it comes to the Zetsus, right, like those are pretty much one-dimensional entities, and they didn't have too much information about what they could like deploy. And I think the zombies were kind of like something that caught them off guard until they got the intel about that. So when they're like forming their battalions, I don't think they had in mind the zombie army, but I could be completely wrong there. I'm going off of memory.
I don't remember.
Yeah, I
if
think they
knew about
definitely
the other Tensei or not.
they do a good job of dividing it. It's not just all taijutsu members all in one, then all long range fighters all in another. Even if
Yeah,
they describe that at
true,
some point, I don't
especially when
remember
the
that.
commando
But
unit
at the
splits
very
up
least, that's
and
not how
joins
we
other
see it
people
on
too.
screen. Like for example, we see
Yeah.
every
That's-
unit has a few ceiling people. That's just never a problem. And they mostly just group a lot of characters that should be together. For example, Tamari and Gaara are fighting on the same battlefield because they're brother-sister. I think that's more of that dynamic than it is just, oh, they're both long-range fighters. So I think, like, Ino Shikacho, they aren't the same type of fighter, but they're fighting together because that's obvious in terms of writing it anyways.
Yeah, even when like Kakashi's going up against the 7 Ninja Swordsman, like he deploys this tactic to where his body gets taken over, and then dude is like manipulating it with like a shadow. Like they have like variety within their units, but the unit has like a focus, like a speciality, right? But they do
they
have
had
that variety.
specialties in each unit, but they weren't exclusive. So like,
Yeah.
for example, there was the 5th division was like the random, I don't know how to what the word was, special unit. Like they had a specialty, but it doesn't mean that okay, so Ino I think was in that unit, for example, because of mind transfer. Like that's a unique thing that's not necessarily fully battle relevant, but like he can do other things too.
So the thing is, the first company is the mid-range battle unit. The second one is the close-range battle unit. And the thing is, like they show Kurotsuchi is in this one, so like she has long-range jutsu. So yeah, it's not black and white. And then the third range is the intermediate range battle unit, which is like the healers and stuff. Sakura is in that one.
Even Kakashi and his versatility with his 1,000 jutsu. I mean, that in and of itself, I think he's in a close range unit. That would give that
Kakashi
versatility.
is in the third one. He's in the intermediate range, and he's the
okay.
captain, the company captain.
Yeah.
The
Mine's
fourth
dying
unit is the
too,
long
man.
range unit, and the fifth one is the special battle unit. And then there's like the Akimichi, the Inuzukas, the Ino's clan, Yamanaka clan. They are all in this unit with different types of abilities. Guy is in the, I think it's in Kakashi's. It's in the third.
He's in
one.
Kakashi's, yeah.
That's why
Yeah.
I thought they were like the close up unit because of the guy.
Yeah, he's
No, I
the
think that's-
intermediate range battle unit. That means.
Yeah, I think it's just
I guess
because it's
that's
a
more
war
like
arc,
a,
we have to look at the fights
all-encompassing.
themselves and how they actually play out. So I don't think
No.
Sai fought his brother because he's in a specific battalion. I think Sai fought his brother just because
I mean,
he had
yeah.
to for the writing.
It's his brother. Yeah.
Yeah, so you
it's
just
his
apply that to
brother.
like all of it, really.
But my whole point was like they had a strategy when like creating their units, and then
Yeah.
like their formations, like when they got hit with adversity, they would make adjustments, right? Like having people flank or so on and so forth, or joining certain battalions. And then also like within those battalions, you had strategies for individuals like Ino Shikacho by Shikamaru's father. Or
Yeah, they
Naruto
sent
coming up with
Nishikacho
strategies.
to deal with King
Yeah.
Kaku, who was going ballistic. But the thing is, like, for instance, the advanced squad, like the first squad Kabuto sends with Dater and Sasori, and then Sai's brother. There's this fourth guy who never appeared in the story before. Like, it's the guy from
He's
the
just a
Mist
random
Village.
sensory dude.
and like you're like, who cares about this guy? Like, make somebody more interesting appear here. Like,
Not feel
it's
you.
just
But in
Well,
terms of
that's-
like the strategy, not only do the heroes have strategy, but like you just mentioned, the villains as well. So that doubles down on it. The whole stuff with like diverting the 10 tails like Biju bomb, by using the mud wall or whatever earth style they used to. That shit was pretty clever.
Oh no, yeah, no. There's a lot. I'm more so talking about the macro strategy, like the entire thing about how you move the troops around and that's probably because I'm kind of a nerd about like battlefield tactics and history and stuff, and I'm like, okay, this is kind of too basic for a war between ninjas that have powers and stuff.
Comparison, I think what Dygo means here is not that there is no strategy whatsoever. I think he's saying he wants the fight to be like Neji versus Kidomaru, where there's like a lot of strategy in that particular fight.
It's not even the fight itself, it's more like the macro level.
I get
like
what you're
how
saying.
the entire battalion.
So Mello, your
together.
example didn't work because
Right.
it's the mud wall. That's from like all the battlefields has already combined all 5 battalions. But Dygonight is saying, well, all the battalions are sort of going off on their own, even though that's not necessarily the case because, like you were saying, they can back each other up, and that was like the strategy that Inoichi and Shikaku and all of them were developing behind the scenes. That is the macro level, but we don't really see that play out the way that we should have. Because it stays on the macro level rather than us being shown it on the micro level. At no point is any battalion ever, quote unquote, backed up that I can remember that we personally.
I think the only time
happens with
is
you,
in
like,
the
there's
beach.
the commando
in the
unit
beach
joining
when,
Kakashi's, or
So
there's
I
the
think
one.
maybe the
some of the
goalpost for
merge,
this
I forgot which
conversation's shifting a little bit because originally I think it was there's no like little to no strategy in this arc, and then now it's kind of shifting to some other kind of conversation. So what I was responding to was like the initial through line for this particular topic. But if we're switching it up, then I can pivot for sure.
Well, no, I definitely think the strategy is just way different from before everyone joins together versus after, because immediately once they do this crazy strategy technique where all 5 battalions basically try and seal the Tin Tails, and that's where just all the strategy starts. Like the mud walls later, Minato, I guess, well, he's not really in a battalion, but he like teleports everyone out. That's technically a strategy thing. I think they all do their own strategy thing at that point, but
I was referring to like in a macro scale, like when you combine like different battalion with all those ninjas. This is where I think it's a little bit lacking in the strategy. Like there certainly are more things you could have done. Like there are ninjas with barrier jutsus with very interesting techniques that could have like used defensive techniques to impede the Zetsu army and the Edo Tensei army to bands and things like that, but we just never really see that type of stuff. Of course, like the battles themselves, like the 1v1s or the 2v2s or whatever, they're gonna have strategy because they've always had. And then also when they join forces against the Ten Tails, that also happens, which I'm very fine with. I actually like a lot when the alliance they use the Shinobi alliance jutsu, whatever Naruto calls that. But the day one of the war is definitely the weak part of the war for me, except for Kaguya. I don't like Kaguya, but that's another story entirely.
I agree with
part
one.
I mean, maybe we can agree to disagree on this one. That's perfectly fine. I don't know. I just feel like there was a lot of strategy in there, even with the basic stuff. I think what swings if that's not needed. Like, I think the Akatsuki provided an L.
An L.
Hello?
The Akatsuki was an L. Mello, you're lagging, by the way, if you can hear this. Okay, well, I'll assume that was a good conclusion to that thing that he just said there. Next topic. Similarly related. So we were kind of mentioning like the Konoha 9 earlier, as well as the
That in and of
Akatsuki.
itself was a strategy.
I agree, Mello. That was a great speech. Round of applause for Mello. Especially the middle parts. I enjoyed that the most.
I don't know if Mello heard us while he was cut out, so I think it was a double whammy there.
Yeah, I think I cut out. Yeah,
Oh yeah, a big cutout.
That's all I was saying. I think even with the more smaller scale movements, I think it was out of necessity, out of utility. So even if they didn't do broad sweeping things, I think they did what they needed to, based upon the enemy they were facing. But yeah.
So
All right.
my question for you guys. So since we're talking about like the Konoha 9 as well as the Akatsuki, so everyone agrees that like Madara could solo the Akatsuki, or Naruto in the War Arc could solo the Akatsuki, etc. But what about like the Konoha 9? So you take out Sakura, Sasuke, and Naruto, you're left with the other one. So like Kiba, Choji, all of them.
Dude,
Do you
I'm
think
I mean,
they
Sakura
could
cannot
defeat
solo
Akatsuki?
the Akatsuki.
Wait, hold on.
Sakura
Oodie,
doesn't solo the
you cut
Akatsuki.
out for me. Can you repeat your question?
Yeah, it would just be the Konoha 9s, like Ino, Choji, Shino, all of them, Kiba, versus all of the Akatsuki, like all at once. Who do you guys got? Who do you think wins?
Like the Konoha
But-
9 versus
so
the
I would do that.
Akatsuki?
Yeah, all at once.
Like, without Naruto and
But
Sakura
I don't-
and
Right.
Sasuke.
Yeah,
I don't want.
They get demolished by the
because
Akatsuki.
they could
Yeah.
solo.
That's kind
mean,
of tough.
Itachi probably.
Nagato solos them all
If you have
together.
like your so, like, for example, well, like here's an example like for Kakuzu. Kakuzu didn't really.
Kisame
We didn't
solos
really
them.
see like a real. We didn't see
Oh
a
my
real
God,
fight with
no.
Kakuzu versus Team Ishikacho. So like they kind of fought him before. They have a knowledge of each other, but it was mostly Kakashi fighting Kakuzu.
I think maybe the best you have is Shikamaru, Shino, and maybe Rock Lee. Because Shino's bugs are kind of nasty. And a strategy with Shikamaru could be pretty good. But outside of that, I don't know.
They just
Choji.
don't.
Hino's
have
like a
anything
Can you hear me
to
again?
match. They don't have nothing to match like Pain or Itachi or anything.
I mean, you could give them buffs, like you could have Rock Lee use the 7th gate, for example.
Okay, then that makes it a little bit better.
And you could
Maybe the
have, I don't know,
problem.
Neji learn something. She knows bugs way more powerful than they eventually ended up being. Of course, you could buff them, but as they stood, they had no
Well,
chance.
Are they fighting? Are they
Yeah, I
fighting
mean, like
all
the problem is,
Akatsuki
like for
at
example,
once?
using Itachi as an example, Itachi's
Crazy.
already like a little bit above EMS Sasuke, and so like, in order to defeat Itachi, any one of these characters needs to be stronger than EMS Sasuke, which would just be very odd at this point. like they would have to
I mean,
become on
it
the level.
didn't
of
like
no
it didn't have to
Itachi.
be Itachi because Itachi is one of the strongest Akatsuki members. But like, I think pairing them up against say
Somebody's gotta do it.
Sasori,
Somebody's gonna beat him. Like,
yeah,
like, if-
but-
I mean,
Oodie
they have
did
to
say all at
one,
once.
two people need to rise to
Yeah.
Itachi and
He
Nagato's
said all at
level
once.
in this case.
yeah, if you're
Isame's
considering them
also
all
a
at
beast.
once, then there's no way.
Yeah.
Yeah, all at once,
Yeah,
it's
there's just
impossible.
no way.
We could take
Yeah.
it one by one, maybe. That wouldn't be
Yeah,
more
you
fair.
can group like 3 versus 1, 2 versus 1, or whatever. That's fine. Which would have been cool. That's something I would have liked.
No, they dying, bro.
Like if Neji and
Or like-
Hinata teamed up to face off against one of the Akatsuki, whoever, I don't know, Hidan.
I mean, yeah, you
or
could if
Kakuzu
for
or
example, you
something,
could
you know,
pair
like-
up interesting characters like Neji and Hinata together, powerful character instead of just white Zetsus. Like, ugh, who cares
Yeah.
about the white
Or,
Zetsu?
or alternatively, have Zetsu just be stronger.
No, it would still not work because like it's just a faceless army. It's just like stormtroopers. It wouldn't work in an emotional level, even if they were stronger.
To be fair, I think
Yeah,
we're
I think-
slightly underrating the Konoha 9 just because they can work together. So even Lee and Neji, I think, would have some pretty good teamwork. They could probably take out,
Okay,
like,
but so can the
Kisame or something.
Akatsuki.
But then even, like, we're going to say that Nagato solos. Well, I think Ino Shikacho at least has a good chance in the War Arc specifically.
No.
Maybe not in the Pain Arc, but again,
No.
the War Arc, they get significantly stronger, in my opinion.
Well, yeah, yes,
But
yes. If it's
Chibaku
the purple
Tensei, they're
Nag-
done.
If
Like,
it's the
But you
white-haired
can't get that off.
Nagato, if it's the white-haired Nagato that can't walk, sure. But if it's the red-haired one, no, they're dying.
Well, let's keep in mind that even
Like,
Ino in the
Nagato-
War Arc was
no,
able to put
I would be
Obito
real,
under
Itachi and
mind
Nagato
transfer.
on their own are
for
taking
like
out the Konoha
0.5
9.
seconds.
All you need is
Yeah.
those. Okay.
That was
Yeah.
actually a
Well-
very it's a very underappreciated moment because Hinata combines her Byakugan with Ino's mind transfer jutsu, which is a very interesting combo, and like they divert a Bijudama, and this is kind of glanced over by everyone. Like nobody
don't
talks about
understand
it, but
how
it's
it
a really cool
works.
moment.
No, I've literally used this in a debate before of like Ino
Wait, what are you
versus
talking
Pain.
about?
So yeah, so
Wait, what are you
Ino
talking
uses a Byakugan boosted mind transfer jutsu, and it just works. I don't understand it either.
For what?
To
I
put
think it's
Obito
the-
under the
The
mind transfer.
Byakugan help with the aim or something. I don't think
Oh,
it was
maybe, but
I mean, yeah, that's what I got from it.
the
But
aim
same.
assist.
What I thought.
it's
as
just
well.
cool to think about the Konoha 12 characters combining their powers when they're not Naruto and Sasuke, because they usually don't do that. I mean, except for Inoshika Cho, but like Hinata and Ino are from two separate teams, which is I think it's cool to see. Like, oh, they're actually working together.
I think
Yeah, I
Neji
think
and
that is
Rock,
cool.
Neji and Rock Lee actually tag teaming an opponent would have been cool because
Yeah.
I know you guys got to think about what's physically happening. You got to defend for Rock Lee for high speed, physically impactful attacks, but then you also have to
They
be
should've
on
fought.
the weary
Continue,
side of
man.
your organs with Neji, who's fighting a very different style of taijutsu. So those two at the same time is just a very awkward fight for the guy on by himself. So that would have been cool.
How does Ino's like mind transfer function? Because I was always under the assumption she was in Hinata's body, used Hinata's Byakugan for assist, and then went out of her body into.
No,
I'd
Hinata
have to
literally just
see
like
what happened in
puts
that
her
scene.
back, puts her hand on Ino's back, and just like gives her her chakra with her Byakugan on. I don't get it either. I don't know.
What I think, Ino possessed Hinata, and then Ino used Hinata's Byakugan to see where Obito was from like I don't know how many miles away, and then she used her own body to use the mind transfer jutsu looking through Hinata's eyes. This is how I interpret it, but it's very up in the air. Like we don't see how they do it. They just say, "Oh, we used the Byakugan mind transfer combination. It's really cool. It worked."
Yeah, I don't really remember this at all. I remember Ino putting like Obito in mind transfer, but I don't remember the whole combination.
Like
is-
like the scene goes like this. I have the manga. Obito feels something, which is Ino's like grasp on him. He misses the Bichudama. Then Ino arrives with a mind transfer jutsu, hand sign, like made in her hands, and Hinata is carrying her. So, and then they kind of land. Hinata asks if Naruto's okay, and then Ino says, "I can't believe he shook off my Byakugan aided spot on mind transfer in 2 seconds."
What chapters is
This
this?
is
Yeah, so that
this is chapter
implies
611.
it was stronger than normal. Not that Ino hit it, but that she's surprised that Obito was able to break specifically the mind transfer that's been aided by the Byakugan.
No,
so I don't think the Byakugan was just for aim.
I think it's
No,
the
yeah,
aiding.
the implication is that she put Obito under mind transfer, but he just shook it off. That's what happened.
Yeah.
And the
That's like
thing
how
is, she used that with the Byakugan to. She even said spot on mind transfer jutsu because it's spot on because she had the Byakugan to like look where Obito was to perfectly aim the mind transfer.
Definitely.
But
Yeah,
like
the point
we
is
don't know
she can't help
exactly
with
the
mind
mechanics
transfer.
about it,
but he shook
like
it
how it worked.
I also
Yeah,
don't
he
think it
shook
was
it off,
miles
like, 2
away.
seconds.
This is the moment before the entire Shinobi Alliance arrives, so she can't be that far away.
Yeah, but you have to take into account that like the mind transfer is like a tricky thing to aim. Like when Ino was fighting Sakura, they were like what 10 feet from each other, and Ino was afraid of using the
Yeah, they
jutsu
were
without
worried about her
mobilizing
blocking.
That's
Sakura.
specifically because the jutsu's slow, not because it's hard to aim.
Well, no, it's hard to hit a moving target
Yeah.
because it fires in a straight line.
Yeah, but even still, like Obito's far away. Even
Yeah.
even
I
if
mean,
you
that
take
would be
into
hard to
account like
aim in that situation because of how far away it is. I mean, like it's like hitting a bullseye from a really far
Yeah.
distance. It's not easy. Like that's the point there. But
Okay. All right. Well, I guess that answers that. So what if I give Sakura to the
Yeah,
Konoha 9 as well? Then do the Akatsuki still solo?
Akatsuki stomp without Naruto and Sasuke. There's
Okay.
no question.
yeah.
I think
It is-
I think
like, I just
Sakura is
think
stronger
Itachi
than
and
like
Akito
a
is all they-
6-pass Sage Mode clone Naruto. So I don't know.
I agree.
More chakra.
Yeah.
I mean, she punches
is
hard.
what it was
That's-
said. Yeah, she punches
like-
hard.
That
Okay,
Byakugo
but she's
steal's
not
no joke.
punching data in the sky. But frankly, I don't know if a single member of the Konoha 9 there has a counter to C4. They're all dead. They don't
That's
even use
fair.
lightning style.
Problem is that if you're taking into account the Edo Tensei for problem, but take into account then
Do
Data
they
would also
even
kill
have
the entire
stealing jutsu?
Akatsuki.
Do they have sealing jutsu to steal them? Like,
I don't think so.
yeah, I don't think they can do anything. Itachi's the one with sealing jutsu here, and he is the Edo Tensei.
I mean, maybe Shino
I
can
think
seal them with
Neji.
his insects or something.
Neji could probably stop C4 if he spins really fast. You can like
Crazy.
Blowing
No,
him
he
up.
reflects
No, I mean, I guess maybe
C4.
Neji can like air palm away the little bombs because he can.
I mean,
see them.
if he rotates before he inhales,
Yeah,
the
I think
nano
Neji,
explosives, I guess it's
Neji
fair.
might be the only one, but I mean, like, I guess if they can get inside his rotation, is that possible? Can you go inside the rotation?
If they all spin in sync with him at the same time, probably. And just keep going.
Makes a giant rotation. They all
But
all
he would
walk
be
in
able
with
to
the
see
C4.
the chakra, like the nano explosive.
Yeah,
Sasuke's
Neji will
Sharingan
see
saw
them.
it, so.
I think Neji and Hinata on their own at least could like survive, but if everyone else dies, they're screwed. Obviously,
But wouldn't
the
the
question is, like, can
C4
they do anything for their teammates?
wouldn't that be like something that hurts everybody, like his teammates as well, except for maybe
They're Edo
Itachi?
Tensei, so they're fine.
Oh, we're doing Edo.
Assume that they're not Edo. I think that would.
Okay, change it to not.
Yeah,
Edo.
then he probably wouldn't use that. But even
Then-
still,
then
like Data
Deidara
could fly
can-
above the
well,
sound,
no,
the
Deidara can still use it
Konoha
because
team.
Deidara can just put them on a second bird that's out of range.
Or he could just drop his C3. Like,
Yeah,
what
you
are
could literally
they're
just
gonna
put
do against?
everyone on the bird and just drop C3 on them.
Like, I don't see Neji and Hinata tanking that with.
Yeah, maybe the rotation can stop it. I guess we're the same problem here.
Clear everybody out in C0.
I mean, Lee kind of punches the
Um,
boulder in half in Naruto the Last. Maybe he just punches the explosion in half here.
I don't think that's how that works.
I don't
I
think
mean,
that
Lee
equates
cuts
to the
Madara in
same.
half.
True,
Lee
yeah.
cuts Madara in half in the war, which a lot of people overlook. It's definitely the most impressive thing Lee ever does in Shippuden.
One of my favorite moments.
Which
Lee
is
just
one
beats
panel long.
Madara.
I think the Akatsuki, like, honestly, they hard counter wise the Konoha 9. They don't have the proper to defeat some of these people in the ideal way, especially if they're all there at once. I mean, like, friggin' Kisami's water bubble jutsu is gonna drown them to death. Like,
If you give Tenten all the 6 bad stools, if you give Tenten every 6 bad stool, then they can steal the Akatsuki
There you go.
if they're a sensei. But
yeah,
then
so they have
she
the
needs
6 bad
all of them.
tools. They have,
Like she needs
Lumina
those gourds and stuff, and also the fan. And Tenten, she can only use the fan like 3 times, and then she runs out of chakra. I don't know if she'll be able to steal a new one.
Plus, some of the
Oh,
Akatsuki
that's-
are revived basically useless. Like, Sasori's revived without his puppet, so he's just a normal human. Like, he literally can't do anything. He got shafted
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah.
Oh no,
No,
he was
um,
he was using other people as puppets, which was
Yeah,
pretty cool
but-
actually.
That
That was
like
pretty cool.
Everything he had.
But they should have
Edo's
have him
very
use
much
like his chest thing where he can control 100 puppets at the same time, and then he
Yeah, he
controls
should've,
100
like-
ninjas. Like that would have been very cool. And then like imagine the dilemma. Oh, should we kill the guys he's attacking us against? They're like our allies. What do we do here? It would have been very interesting to see, but Sasori just gets demolished.
If he
in 2
essentially
seconds.
controlled 100 people, like like 100 of the allies, they put him against Kankuro, like, dude, that could have been cool. Like, Kankuro has to use the Sasori puppet to fight all of them.
Just from a writing standpoint, we should have seen more of Deidara and Sasori in their Edo Tensei form, just going back to the whole dilemma of their art conflict of Sasori wanting art to last forever, so like that's Edo Tensei, and then Deidara being mad at there being Edo Tensei because art's instant. So yeah, I think that could have been really
That's
interesting.
true. I mean, they never really do much with them, and they are paired up together in the war.
Well, that's what I'm saying by, like, I wish that we had more moments with these specific, the best people, instead of brushing over 100 people, let's focus in on 50, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's really my only thing, I think, for this part of the war that could have improved it. Otherwise, like, I still love it, but, like, I think that's something that could have elevated a little bit more.
Oh, you don't like
Yeah.
Jinpachi? You don't like Jinpachi?
Listen, I'll give you
Is he the
Hanzo
helmet
versus
splitter?
Mifune.
Dude.
No
Yeah.
one wants to see that. But, like, even if you go back in time to before you've seen the work, and I tell you, okay, you just watched the 5 Kage Summit, this is everything that's going to happen in the work. Oh, you're going to see Asuma again? You're going to see Sasori again. Yeah, everyone loves Sasori. You're going to see all these characters again. In fact, you're going to get some really, really cool fights. Like, if you just explain Asuma fights team, whatever they are, 10, that sounds cool in concept. It's just when you watch it after the fact, you're like, oh yeah, that was lame. They could have done this better. So I don't even think it was wasted potential because the potential was there and they did execute on the potential. It just wasn't good for some other reason, in my opinion.
Well, that's what makes it wasted potential. It's because the potential was there and it didn't reach its full potential.
But they
That's what
did
makes
the
it wasted
potential.
potential.
Like, again.
No, there wasn't anything for them to do with
Well-
Asuma. Asuma, you know who Asuma should have fought? Kurenai. Should have fought Kurenai in the war arc. Kurenai should have gone to the
Kurenai-
war arc and fought Asuma. That would have been more. That would have. She wasn't.
Right.
She had already given birth by that point. She
Had
should have gone to the war and fought
I don't
Asuma.
think she had.
Yes, she had.
I don't think
She had-
she gave.
She
birth
had.
yet.
Yes,
Really?
she did.
When did
Yeah.
she give birth? Well, I'll ask you this because there's a big discrepancy here. How long do you think it is between the 5 Kage Summit arc and the beginning of the war? Because it seems like it's only a few days, if not a week. But then, if you actually do the
no,
calculations
it's
on the
implied
data
to be more
books-
because
Yeah,
because the entire village is rebuilt. The
yeah. So
village is
I do
rebuilt.
think it's a few months as well. So that could also be credence for that.
I don't know how pregnant she was exactly.
How pregnant?
Well,
she
either
was.
way, she's got a freaking newborn baby to tend to. Okay, that newborn baby's gotta like be with its mom. So I think that's reason not to be in the war.
No, but they could have come up with an interesting reason, like, oh, I have to protect my baby because I can do something about it. I'm a Jonin ninja that can actually have an impact in the battlefield, so I'm going. And then she fights Asuma. Like, he shouldn't have fought his
think,
team.
Kurenai versus Asuma could have been cool.
I think the dynamic we got there is actually in a filler. It's Hayate versus Yugao, in case you guys haven't seen it. This is a pretty dope episode in my opinion.
Yeah.
But just talking of this, I think it's really similar to something that happened recently in the Boruto, the Code arc, is Naruto goes to fight Code, and he tells Hinata to stay behind to protect the kid. So I think it's really easy to say she should have gone to go fight in the war, because it's wasted potential from a writing standpoint. But just in-universe, the characters themselves, I think that's very difficult to say that they should have, or that they would have, etc. Like, even bringing this into real life, I don't think if I was an only father, I'm going to go risk my life and then leave my child an orphan. Even just like the themes of Naruto himself. I don't think Naruto.
Guy literally, he was gonna kill himself if the didn't work.
Do you
The
think?
guy doesn't have a son.
Nah, but even like, it would have been interesting in the story, and like you could say that to justify why are these people fighting against their loved ones. You could say that Kabuto is exploiting that. He's using the Edo Tensei that people knew to fight against them because
That's
they're
exactly
going to be
what he was
weakened by
doing.
it.
Yeah, it's a jutsu of
That's
weakness,
what
it's
he's
a
doing
jutsu of
anyway.
tragedy.
And then it's easy to just like, yeah, Kurenai goes to war because she's a shinobi. She has to, like, she doesn't even have a choice. That's like in the War in States period, they were sending kids to war. Why wouldn't they send a mother to war? Like,
I think she should have at least been with like
kid
Shikaku and
was
Inoichi.
like a 2-month-old at the most.
Yeah, she could have been in like the strategy unit, but then that unit got bombed, so maybe that's why Kishimoto knew that in advance and didn't put her there. I think that could have worked though. Daigo, I did mention to you that I watched the conversation you had with HotBoySpicy a few months ago, and I'm curious how like you reflect back onto that. Like, did you take anything away from that?
that conversation, like he emailed me and said, hey, when I talk about Naruto, I said, yeah, sure, why not? And then he kind of transformed that into a debate. Like, I wasn't challenging his points at all. I was just like saying things without much thought put into them, and was like, yeah, I don't really like the Otsutsuki, but I don't really change my opinion. Of course, I could have like actually talked more as a debate in that time, like if I was in that mindset, but I just didn't feel like it, like a debate with the Otsutsuki, whether they're bad or not, which was essentially like the topic of the conversation. Like, he never specifically said that was gonna be what we were gonna be talking about. He said, like, we're gonna talk about Naruto, and I said, yeah, no, sure. And then he kind of transformed it into like an Otsutsuki debate, which I guess it's fine, but
Well, I don't think he went into it knowing
that's
it would be
typically
that.
how it goes.
I mean, I don't know if he did, but that's kind of what it became. And then I was like, he was saying a lot of things that I could have challenged, but I wasn't taking that as a debate. I was like taking that as a conversation. Like, I wasn't like going after his points or anything like that. And he was like kind of drilling me for information and stuff. I was like, no, it's fine.
The reason I bring this up is because Hotboy has actually done a video on the Edo Tensei, breaking it down from this narrative standpoint of it being the jutsu of weakness for other characters. Kabuto purposefully exploits other people's emotions and stuff. He purposely does this strategy, like not only in the narrative, but like in universe, in canon. So I think that's a really interesting aspect of this.
Yeah, he was trying to do that as it is. That's why Austin
definitely
fights
recommend
Team Inoshika Cho, for example.
It doesn't really add anything to the story.
Choji was just annoying me. Like, it was too much. Like, oh, I don't want to fight him. I'm like, bro, I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I'm like, dude, he's literally attacking you. Just freaking.
Well,
get
that
your
is
big ass
that
hand
does go back to the
and him.
screenwriting
Like, you know
thing
what I mean?
again.
Like, you can hug him with your hand.
You hug him in his head. I agree. It was annoying, but again, like screenwriting, he objectively did say no, the correct amount of times. Like there was a specific number of times Choji should have denied hitting him, and he did hit that threshold the exact amount of times. It just doesn't translate well to screen in that instance. Because even if you have objectively good screenwriting, that doesn't make your story automatically good. There's a difference between screenwriting and storytelling, which is very huge.
I think it made sense, personally.
Well, I think it made sense. It was just annoying.
Yeah, like
The
because
point
that's
about
his
that
master. Like I'm not trying to pack up my master like that, but I understand his conflict.
There's a difference between
Yeah,
saying
I mean,
something's
it
good
did-
and saying you like it. It's like you can say something's good but you dislike it, and similar, you can say something's bad but you like it.
The fight kind of it achieves no point in terms of developing the characters further, except for Choji, you could say, because, well, he got the courage to punch his former sensei, which is not that big of a deal, I would say, in this situation.
If you
because
take
everybody
in
is
Choji's entire character arc, I would argue this is the end of his character. You don't need to see him after this because he's more so headcanon. He doesn't have a character arc after this. So his journey in part 1 is all about bravery. In fact, it's the same thing with part 2. So here he's overcoming his own flaw as a character, and so he doesn't need to be in it after this because he's done what he needs to do as a character. He's overcome his flaw, his weakness.
I mean, yeah, you could say that, but like Asuma coming back is not that impactful. Like the last words Asuma had for Team 10, his team, were way more impactful than anything else Asuma could have said or done to them.
You know, I
war.
will say, in fairness, to draw comparisons with Jiraiya, like the same thing for Asuma and his team applies with Naruto and Jiraiya. The reasons why Kishimoto doesn't want to bring back Jiraiya would be reasons not to bring back Asuma or vice versa. Like, I kind of treat them in the same boat there. They did Asuma did something very similar to Shikamaru as what Jiraiya did to Naruto. So I feel like, to an extent, you don't need to bring back Asuma, essentially. Because
Did
his
Asuma-
death already did what it needed to do.
Did Asuma do anything at all for you guys, even if a little bit?
I
In
liked
the
seeing
war
him.
or
In the
in
war?
Because Alive?
Again, I'm just a
In
fan
the
of the
war.
characters, so
Yeah.
aside
No.
from the story
Oh, in
can
the
be
war, yeah,
completely
he did
stalled.
nothing for me.
This is the same thing with filler. Like, you can't say filler is a 0 out of 10. There's at least some value there, even if it's not progressing the story, because you get to see more of the characters and the world itself. If you're a fan of that, then great.
Yeah, that's more so my point. I think there can be value in a cameo or a character coming up or whatever the case may be. That's not necessarily super deep or philosophical or whatever the case may be. And I think it was pretty
Yeah.
cool to see the side characters get a little shine in the war arc, where they've been neglected quite frequently throughout the series. In part
Well,
two.
that's for me. I wanted more shine. I want Neji to get real shine. I don't want him to fight a Zetsu for 10 seconds. I want him to have a real battle.
Neji's
Well, and this one
character
we're
arc
talking
is
about
finished
Inosuke,
at his death as well. But I agree with Daigo. You don't have to bring back Asuma, but you do need to wrap up Choji's character arc because it is unresolved at that point.
I mean, yeah, but
I agree with
the thing
that.
is, you could have achieved that in different ways.
I agree. There are other
Uh,
ways, but
then
do you think there's a
use it-
better way? So how else
What is the
would you wrap
character
up?
arc of Choji?
He needs
in
to
a
become
situation
brave.
That you're,
He's too
okay.
kind.
Well, he can become
Well,
brave against anyone.
And so
Yes,
Asuma is the
okay.
perfect chance for him to get over that.
I mean, he wasn't kind to Kakuzu either.
But Kakuzu's a villain. That's the difference here. If he fights Kakuzu and he
agree.
becomes less kind, it's not as narratively impactful as if he's quote unquote less kind against someone such as Asuma.
So,
He
okay,
has to
so,
fight him
so,
on a
with
level.
that, but,
so
like-
Choji has to lose his emotional attachment to things and become a shinobi per se, like a person that acts with no emotion regardless of the situation.
So
I
wait,
think
real
Mitsuki's
quick,
good on the
real
series.
quick. How much was the kindness, Choji being too kind, mentioned in part 1 in the Jirobo fight? Was that mentioned or not? I can't fully remember. Was the kindness part mentioned in part 1 or no?
It's mentioned
Was
in
that
part one,
just
not
entirely
necessarily.
introduced
His
in part 2?
fight with Jirobo had more to do with the attachment. Choji's like inferiority complex that nobody liked him and stuff like that, and then
Yeah.
when he wins the fight, he sees that his friends were actually pointing to where they were going, saying that we trust you, you're gonna win this.
So I agree with that. My question though is, was the kindness thing brought up? Because if it wasn't, then you just don't need to bring it up.
No, it's also more
That's
becoming a
problem solved.
fully fledged Shinobi. So the reason Choji won isn't because he took the red pill, power-wise. It's narratively because he was willing to throw away his life. Not throw it away, but to use his life. He's willing to go far to overcome Jirobo.
Yeah, that's why that's Choji's best fight.
So he won because of his resolve, not because of his power.
And so in this case, though, I would argue the Asuma thing is a resolve thing again, though. It is a resolve thing. He needed the resolve to fight his master, but he already achieved his resolve arc. So unless the kindness thing is brought up in part 1, I would just say you don't need to bring it up again.
I mean, the thing is, kindness is not Choji's kindness is not treated as a character flaw that he has to overcome. It's something that he like
It
people
wasn't
say
the
it's a good
Asuma
thing.
fight. But like
It wasn't the
then,
in the Asuma fight, but beforehand, no. Beforehand, like seeing as this really good person because he treats people equally. He liked Shikamaru. He was always trying to be nice to everybody.
That's kind of why I brought that up, because if his kindness flaw wasn't really ever a flaw before this fight, I don't think you need to create this flaw for Choji, just as you didn't create anything similar for Shino or whatever. What makes Choji so different?
Yeah,
I don't
I'd
know.
have to go
I
back
think
and see
Choji's
what's
just a
first
different
mentioned.
person.
Yeah, so specifically,
Yeah,
this is really
I think
interesting.
that would make the, because if it is brought up as a flaw in part 1, then I will say yes, you do need to resolve it. But if it's not, then it's a different story. It depends really on when it was
Like,
brought up.
Choji's main character flaw is that he is hot-headed. Like in part 1, if somebody called him fat, you get mad, and then in part 2, when
that's his
Hidan was like,
inferiority. That's more so his inferiority complex. Like
yeah, but then in part 2, when Hidan was saying, "You, fodder guy that we kill and whatnot," then Choji rushed Hidan, even though he was gonna die.
Well, I guess
That's
he was still had his inferiority complex.
So I think with Choji, the problem with him is that he's not consistently at the level of maturity to be an effective shinobi. I think that's pretty much like at the foundation of it. That's what his issue is. Whether that manifests itself in insecurity or him being too kind, he needs to be a consistent, effective, mature ninja. And even throughout Shippuden, you don't see this demonstrated where when pain invades, he's like, but Pa, and when he needs to get away, right? And then even with Kakuzu, he's afraid there. So when it comes around the war arc, he finally has the opportunity to be a consistent, effective, mature shinobi. And I think that's his character arc at the foundation of it.
So I would agree with that, but that comes back to Asuma not being necessary. You could have just had Choji have a drawn-out fight with Kakuzu.
Oh, I agree, but Jirobo isn't necessary in the same way. So the thing with
like
Choji...
you can write the story.
No, but Jirobo's more interesting because Jirobo mirrors Choji in many ways.
Because Jirobo's fat too.
But I think Asuma's interesting because that's his master, and he has that backstory with him as well. So you can make the same. It's kind of on the foundation, the same argument, but like with different perspectives. I think Asuma's interesting. You could have definitely done it differently in a different way because
I think that's if we're going to do Asuma, I think I just would have preferred it done differently. I don't have a problem with Asuma in general being brought back.
I kind of have, because I think him fighting against his team diminishes the impact of his death and his last words to them. Because now, like, his last words as Minato Tensei to them is that I don't have any last words to give you guys because you guys are done. Like, this is pretty lame.
I disagree. I don't think you can.
That's why I said it's really the same boat as Jiraiya. Like, the same reasons Kishimoto didn't want to bring back Jiraiya, I do feel like should technically apply to Asuma. I'm not sure why they didn't, because Asuma's death was good to me. So the same. I don't want to terminate whatever the word is. I don't want to ruin Jiraiya's death. I feel like the same thing applies, but
like Shikamaru, Ino, and Choji aren't as important as Naruto being the main character. So like the impact would be different with Jiraiya than it would be with Asuma, I would imagine.
Yeah.
So
definitely.
Finishing up on Choji really quick,
and
just talking like narrative. Really quick, just on Choji. I think it's very important to recognize Choji's end goal. So we get that at the beginning of Choji's arc, just the same way that we get it at the beginning of Naruto's character arc. We know Naruto wants to become Hokage. In the same way, Choji, by the end of the story, he needs to become a fully fledged shinobi. We know that the entire time, so we know what we're going to get going into it. The whole point of it is the journey rather than the destination. It's seeing how he gets it. So we don't doubt Naruto's going to become Hokage. We're interested, not because we like Naruto, but because we want to see how he achieves that. So he has to overcome the obstacles presented to him, the obstacles of the world, the obstacles of Sasuke. So with Choji, it's his own kindness. So it's the difference here between Choji and Naruto is that Naruto's conflicts wasn't against himself. It was against the world or other people. This is different with Choji. Choji's enemy in his character arc was never Asuma. It was never Jirobo. This isn't a man versus man fight, even though in universe it quite literally physically is. The dynamic here is man versus self. Choji's only obstacle the entire time is always himself. And in the end, he's to overcome that. So he doesn't need Jirobo, he doesn't need Asuma, but he still needs to overcome himself. And what's the best way of doing that? Well, what's the best conflict that we can give Choji? Well, for that, we have to look at his goal. What's his goal? To become a fully fledged shinobi. What's his weakness? What's the reason he's not accomplishing that? It's because he's too kind. Okay, well, how can we really emphasize that weakness? Really rub dirt in the wound with Choji? It's by bringing back Asuma.
I wouldn't say the reason he's not achieving it is because he's too kind before the Asuma fight. Like, unless it's subtly mentioned, it's not really the main thing. The reason is because he's insecure. That's the thing in part 1, at least. The kindness thing, like I said, I really just got to see when it's brought up initially. But it's mostly just all of a sudden, it's at least exponentially bigger in the Asuma fight. That's when all of a sudden it's a huge deal. So
there's the point in the pain arc too.
Afraid. He has to overcome a freaking scary zombie dude who he's fearful of because the last time he saw him, Kakuzu was beating the shit out of him. That's a good way to get over your insecurity, to beat that dude up. You know what I mean? Like, I think
you can maybe make the argument with him being too kind towards his father in the Pain Invasion arc. You can maybe make some kind of argument with the kindness thing.
Well, to me, I think
kindness is not the right word. I think it's more like sentimentality.
I think for me, it lack of resolve more so. Like, he doesn't have the resolve to do it himself. He's relying on other people. In that case, he's relying on his dad. I guess in the Pain arc, it's just, again, he's just scared. Like, he doesn't have the confidence in himself to do anything. Kakashi kind of gives him confidence, like, hey, you will deliver this intel. You better. And then he just sucks it up and runs and does it.
Yeah, I don't think he lacks resolve at all. I
don't know. It's I don't know the best word to describe it. The kindness thing just isn't really until the Asuma fight. So I don't think it's kindness.
I think it's like an amalgamation of like different things that are manifesting, but the underlying. That's why I worded it the way that I did. He's not a consistent, mature shinobi that produces positive outcomes or good outcomes or blah blah wherever it is I said at the time. I said it that way specifically because I think that describes at the root of it him just not being up to par when it comes to being a mature shinobi.
We are talking about specifically
however way that manifests itself. Yeah.
We're talking about Choji, which is just one specific aspect of this fight, but really there's a whole dynamic going here. So if we cross-correlate it with the other aspects, such as Edo Tensei, like I was saying with Hot Boy's video, it's the jutsu of weakness. So, okay, let's compare that dynamic here. What's the best way to make both of these happen in the series, both Choji's inconsistencies as well as presenting Edo Tensei as this jutsu of weakness? Well, you just combine it with Asuma. So I think it's the best option they could have gone, but I would be interested in hearing another route that you could go with it.
Well, I
can't really think of
that,
one,
but I still think it could have been better.
Well, Trippy, what do you think in general of this whole topic?
You could have had
well, I've been trying to think of a way that they could have done it better this whole time, and I just can't think of one.
Yeah.
But I don't really. I mean, I get it. The fight's boring.
I guess for me, it's not that it's bad. It's that I don't like.
Again, it's the fight's good. We just don't like it
in the Pain arc.
Like, no one likes it.
Yeah, that's what it boils down to. I don't like seeing Choji. You know what I mean? Like, I just feel like it was just annoying. Like, it's not that it's a bad fight, bad written, or anything thematically, story-wise wrong with it. It's just not something I particularly like, I guess, is what it boils down to.
Yeah, so Kamui, it's like the
It's a
inverse
fight
of
that
the
I've
pain
never
arc.
come back to.
Everyone loves it, even though it sucks. But we can move on to the next topic now.
No, Oodie, the pain arc is both amazing and everything. You're just wrong about that.
Okay, so Dygonight was saying something interesting with the whole Asuma thing. He's saying it's sort of, not only is like wasted because there's no point of it because we already got Asuma's full resolution. I don't think the whole point was Asuma there. It was more so Choji in general. But
yeah, it was 100% Choji.
It's really interesting this idea.
No, yeah, but then you're diminishing Asuma's character.
Exactly.
Because then
I get that as well. Yeah.
There's a trade-off. Sure, will you develop Choji sacrificing a bit of Asuma's character? I don't know which is the best answer here. I think you could have done something else to develop Choji and still maintain Asuma.
I think it's a whole interesting idea.
Death.
So, like, can you even taint a legacy? So, like, if Naruto does something in Boruto, does that retroactively ruin the tuning exams or like the Land of Waves arc? I don't think you can do that.
Least, like,
no, because Boruto's not canon, so it doesn't matter.
Well, like when people say like Jiraiya being brought back would have ruined his death, I don't really agree that it would have ruined his death. His death is the same.
It depends on how you approach it, but
the Edo Tensei aspect. You know what I mean?
No, because there is an impact to a character's death, and if that character returns in any way, then the death is no longer going to be the last thing you see of the character, and therefore the scene is completely altered. Because usually,
I guess it's what you're saying is it alters their last scene. That's not altering their death, though. It doesn't impact their death. It impacts
because the death.
Well, the death would be less impactful. Yeah, if they come back, it'd be less impactful. I get what he's saying.
But I really want to hear why. Like, I understand the line of reasoning, but I want to understand the why behind it. So why do you think it would make it retroactively worse?
Because it's their death.
Oh yeah, but
when
again,
a character returns,
he gave the reason of the ending. But what about the ending makes the middle different for you? That's what I'm really curious on.
I guess because it's not the ending anymore.
if you watch something like twice, like you see a movie for the first time or a really dope episode, right? And you watch it again, it's gonna have less impact anyways, right? So the impact of that moment is always gonna be something less than what it was the first time you saw it, no matter what happens. So when it comes to like Asuma coming back, I don't think it lessens his death necessarily. Maybe this is a perspective thing. I don't know if you can view it from like an objective standpoint. Does it lessen the death? If it's a subjective thing, I'm not even going to bother arguing it. But if you can make it like an objective, like from a narrative perspective, this does it, then I'll be willing to hear that out.
Okay, have you guys seen Star Wars?
Oh, here we go.
Oh,
God. My God. I know where you're going with
I know, right? I'm a huge Star Wars fan, so yeah.
Here's what I'll say about that.
Oh,
though.
yeah,
That's
I get
the
it.
example of bringing a character back in a shitty way. If we assume they're brought back in a good way, and they leave in a good way again.
No,
like,
I don't have a problem with most of the Edo Tensei. Like, I didn't say that the concept of bringing a character back in of itself is bad. It's just how you execute it.
I think Deidara was kind of lame to me. But...
I agree. Deidara kind of sucked.
Asuma is a character that facilitates the growth of his students. I don't really care about Asuma himself. So when he dies, it's for Shikamaru's sake. When he comes back,
I guess that's a fair point too.
Yeah,
but my problem is that
like his reaction to Choji and the people that they grew up to be. That's
my problem is with Asuma's last words, because now Asuma's last words are no longer Asuma's last words to his team.
It's a different version of Asuma, though. Does that matter to you at all, or do you consider the Edo Tensei the same character? Does this apply to every single character? Because I think Itachi's end in the Edo Tensei is a lot more impactful than his death. I agree. I completely agree with you. Itachi's ending as an Edo is better than in the Sasuke fight.
I think
that's why it's not like something set in stone. But when you talk about like Palpatine coming back, there's a clear difference when you execute things.
So for you,
Itachi, I think Itachi saying that I will always love you scene is probably the best scene in Naruto, top 5 at least.
One of them anyway. I think the point in your so this is basically the point I'm getting out of this is that it's not that bring Asuma in general means Asuma's death is diminished. It's that the way Asuma was brought back, you thought diminished Asuma's death. essentially.
Yeah, yeah.
The specific version of him coming back that we got.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
specifically,
Yeah,
it's
what
not
he
the
did as a
ending, but
character.
it's the execution that matters the most, which I would agree with.
Yeah.
I agree, yeah. I think execution in a story is more important than anything else, than your concepts, than your themes, than like if you execute a very cliche story in a very competent way, it's going to be better than a story filled with very extravagant themes that
So, in my opinion, I fundamentally disagree with you as a screenwriter, and this was what HotBoySpicy was saying as well, and you guys never really talked on this much, you just sort of gave your own thoughts. I really want to talk on this, though, is, in my opinion, the thing that matters to a story is the story itself. The plot complements the story. It doesn't substitute it. So story always comes number one, no matter what. And it sounds like to you, so for example, you mentioned the narrative can be cool, but you really like seeing the choreography or the strategy or the things in universe. Like you like seeing cool jutsu. I agree.
No,
that's cool, but
no,
it's not
Not
impactful
really.
if you don't understand the meaning behind it.
when I talk at the when I see the execution, I'm talking about how the way the story is written in itself, not like a particular ability or anything like that.
But just comparing some of the things that you were saying, so I'm the like exact inverse of that. For me, theme is all that matters in a story. Without theme, you have no story, and so the story is completely irrelevant.
I mean, I'm not saying that a story has no themes, but like a story with very basic themes, like whatever you want to pick, can be much more interesting than a story filled with philosophical, intricate themes if it's done better in a writing perspective.
I agree.
Like if you don't execute the story well, in a more mechanical way, like when you go and write the story, if you don't write it well, even if you have the best idea in the world, it's not, like the best example I can give is the Star Wars prequels. Like everybody says, oh, George Lucas had so many interesting ideas and concepts for the story, but it was so bad because it had pacing issues, it had dialogue issues, it had story issues in the way the characters acted. It had so many different problems that the movies turned out bad. Even though, yes, there were very interesting ideas that George Lucas came up with, but it didn't work out in the end because
I
they
don't
weren't very well
personally. I
executed.
like the prequels better, but that's just me.
But this is a really
Yeah,
interesting
I
thing
think
for
maybe
me.
you guys are kind of going from like subjectivity to objectivity. Because I like the
am.
prequels. I do.
Yes. So,
Yeah.
again, I say it a lot on this channel, so it is kind of a meme, but like I have a screenwriter's perspective channel. I am like a professional screenwriter, or like I'm certified. Like I went through college
Get not
writing
all
courses.
these screenwriters.
So-
Exact say.
Again, it's a meme around here, but it's a meme for a reason because it is true. Like I am certified, like I do paid treatments of scripts. Like I edit people's scripts and they will pay me.
We believe you, man. Come on. get to
Okay,
it.
the point of this is to say, I think my word's pretty valid on this topic at the very least. I think, like Dygonight is saying, it is about the execution because what I see with my treatments, a lot of people do make their stories needlessly convoluted. Not complicated, but convoluted. If they just make it simpler, they can actually focus on the important parts that actually matter. Instead, they get bogged down in the details. Instead, they need to make a simple outline and go from there. That's where I always start, and people don't like to do that because what they like to do is they like to not write a screenplay. They like to write a novel. But they're two completely different mediums. You cannot write them the same way. It's like
do you
novel...
edit? Do you edit like movie scripts or books, or what do you edit?
Yes, I edit movie scripts. It's
Movie scripts.
because it's just like screenplays specifically. I'm a screenwriter, so
Okay.
I do have like novels as like a side thing, but I didn't go to school for that. But yeah, just keeping it simple, especially at the beginning of a story. You need to introduce your world and your characters first. You need to keep it plot.
I mean, yeah, especially when it's a movie too, because
Yeah,
there's less
exactly.
time.
Your story should start plot focused, so it moves at a faster pace, and then later on, towards the towards the end of your story, or even the middle, that's when you can shift it from plot focused to character centric. I think Naruto did this very well, both in part 1 and Shippuden. So part 1, it introduced the world itself with the Land of Waves arc. It introduced the characters, their dynamic, but their relationship between each other, their goals, their motives, their weaknesses even, and even like setup for like backstory. Like you get Itachi is sort of like a setup for later, whereas later on in the war arc, or even the Sasuke retrieval arc, you get this payoff for the characters. You get to see the character struggle themselves. So it's much more character centric rather than plot focused. Then, even if you want to say the plot still moves, of course, so it does focus on the plot, but it's not focused on the plot. It's still focused on the characters themselves, which I think is very important. What do you think about that?
I mean, I can't agree with that. I don't think it's a wrong way to look at story, but I wouldn't say that Naruto is just plot driven in the beginning either. Like the first episode / chapter is pretty much a character study on Naruto.
Well, I was talking about like the first arc, not the introduction. But
oh, the Land of Waves. You mean even the Land of Waves like that character?
I mean, that's very character. Well, the thing is, Naruto is very character driven all the time and very plot driven all the time. It's just a good story.
Shout out to someone else named Cam. She knows exactly what I'm talking about, and no one else here will, but I'll just quickly address it because no one else will get it. But Pork Chop Flat Screen is the perfect example of this. It starts plot-focused, and then it shifts into character-centric, and you can see that shift between the characters, or between the arcs themselves. So I think that's the best example of this. I like to point to specific series as the best example of things.
Daigo. What is this Boruto not being canon? What is this Boruto hate I hear?
It's not canon, man. Just look at the evidence. It makes no sense how the characters got so much weak all of a sudden.
Okay.
This is actually a great segue. Hey, let's talk on power scaling, guys. This is gonna be the fun part.
Dude,
trust me.
Wait,
We're gonna get into this.
about to ask, are we gonna bring up adults versus teens again?
Okay, so why do you think the characters are weaker, Daigo? Because Mello here would probably tend to agree with you in some aspects. So let's get a little thing going here.
Because collateral damage.
Collateral damage.
Hold on, what did you say, Ood? Mello would tend to what? I cut out.
Agree. Just go with it.
Okay.
You're on his side. I decided.
You would agree. That wasn't a made up thing. That's true.
So do you think?
I mean, look at the crater. Look at the crater. Borushiki creator when he killed Boro against the crater Naruto first Rasen. Naruto's first Rasen Shuriken crater is bigger than Borushiki's crater. Borushiki's an Otsutsuki quote-unquote god.
Kakuzu?
But his first one is also ridiculous compared to every other one we see. Like they just extendedly show
Same
that
with
one.
the Naruto.
Which
same
one?
with
The one against
Rasengan itself.
Momoshiki?
No,
the
it's
Rasengan versus Kabuto was way different than it was against anyone else.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah, because he actually hit. Not really. Like the Rasengan Naruto hit against the Itachi body double is pretty similar to actually.
Not
It's because
really.
Naruto usually doesn't hit the Rasengan.
No, but that was his first giant
That's not true at all.
Rasengan. So.
Whatever position Oodie's put me in, I don't agree with him. Just putting it out there, okay.
It's too late.
Whatever he's saying is no. For the record. For the record.
So,
Look at Code is said to be the strongest character when he shows up, and then Damon says, "No, I am actually." And then he kicks Code, and guess what? He kicks him against a wall, and he cracks the wall. There's so much power going there.
Code
he cracks
is
the wall.
never stated to be the strongest. Damon is stated to be the strongest, and he
No,
is
he
the
says
strongest,
he's the
but-
strongest, and then
Yeah,
Damon says, "No, I'm the strongest."
Damon is the strongest, and Code.
And then he kicks Code, and he cracks the wall. Meanwhile, in Naruto Part 1, Base Guy was actually destroying walls with no effort whatsoever.
Here we go.
Well,
you know-
so here, real quick. So what you're complaining about is a complaint I had. We had a whole 6-hour podcast on this topic. So
That's
the
what I'm
point
getting to.
isn't they're not actually weaker because of these things. It's just they're drawn differently, essentially. I was always it feels inconsistent to me. But Oodie will just argue it's a different series. But because it's the same franchise, to me, it's kind of inconsistent in that sense. But that's more of a personal preference thing. It doesn't change how strong they literally are. You have to just go by what they're saying to an extent.
So Daigo, I know the debate scene is pretty toxic, but power scaling is sort of separate from that. Do you know anything about power scaling in general? Have you actually researched
What do you mean,
into it? It's the terminology, for example.
calcs?
Okay, not necessarily calcs, but attack potency versus destructive capacity. Do you know what those are or the difference between them?
I mean, roughly, but I don't care at all about it. I did some, I in the past, a couple of versus battle videos, but I don't like doing them or watching them.
Okay.
So I'm
So the difference here, what you're comparing is destructive capacity, but that doesn't tell you how strong a character is hitting. You have to look at attack potency for that, which is based on something completely different. For example, Naruto in the War Arc versus like Juubito Madara, he's hitting harder than 8 Gates Might Guy or than Sakura, even though Sakura is like nuking the battlefield anytime she hits. That doesn't mean Sakura is just stronger than them because she doesn't do as much damage. Naruto's normal punches are just doing more damage.
Okay, why?
It's just
because that's how it's written.
If there's less damage dealt by the punches, that they cannot be dealing damage.
It's also the thing with concentrating damage. Like, look at the compressed Rasengan in the anime versus the normal compressed Rasengan. It's just concentrating the damage.
Which one?
So in the anime, Boruto gets a new Rasengan where he just takes the Rasengan and he compresses it. Or even, let's forget the anime. Let's just say the manga. When Borushiki does the Rasendan, he's compressing that Rasengan. But even though the Rasengan's smaller, it has less destructive capacity, it's still the same amount of potency in the attack. It's still the potency of the normal Rasengan, it's just compressed down to a smaller Rasengan.
Okay, but this wouldn't apply to a punch, because it's a punch.
Yes, it would.
Like, so, you're not compressing the punch.
How you describe the compression Rasengan, that's not how that works, by the way.
Whatever, the Rasengan, it works. But when Sakura punches, again, it's like a nuke. But when Naruto punches, it's not like that, not because of AP, but because of DC, destructive capacity. So if Naruto punches the ground like Sakura did, Naruto can't make a nuke, but he can still punch harder than her. Like, let's say the ground is made out of titanium.
You do, like, if you go by actual physics, this makes absolutely no.
Well, this is debate. That's how debate works. Well, it's also, we can't compare the physics of our real world to the Naruto universe.
No, I know, but this is a very basic premise. If you punch something harder, like if you punch a wall harder, the harder you punch, the more damage you're gonna deal again.
It's the same thing with like Rasengan versus Chidori. We know they equal out, but Naruto's Rasengan
because the Rasengan is like an explosive juice, and the Chidori is a piercing. There's a clear difference.
So that's essentially the point. Like, to make it really extreme, this is not entirely accurate, but it would be like Sakura's being an explosive punch, whereas Naruto's would be more like a piercing punch, even though he doesn't literally stab people.
It's a punch. It doesn't it doesn't have different properties.
It's similar.
Yeah, I know, but this concept makes no sense. I reject this.
But Sakura's punch isn't just a punch. It's like a technique, whereas like Naruto's punches are punches. Like Sakura, like I think she how it was explained to Sarah that she needs like chakra control. She does the punch and then the chakra goes outwards from the fist. It's like, it's not a normal punch.
It's not. No, it's a chakra concentrated.
No, it's powered by chakra, but it's not like
how they're releasing their chakra, I'd say.
Yeah, it's a technique. It's more a technique than just like a punch to a dude. Like, it's completely different than what Naruto does.
I mean, when Naruto punches, I mean, he punches. When Guy punches, he also just punches.
No, like when Naruto punches, his like physical stats are augmented by chakra. But when Sakura does it, she's augmented by chakra, of course. But I think she like shoots the chakra outwards, which causes all that damage.
Yeah, and she's also specifically concentrating it into her fist, not like her whole body.
Yeah, she concentrates the chakra on her fist, but she's not expelling the chakra when she punches. She's just punching.
Keep in mind, I'm going off of memory from like the Boruto Deepa training arc with Sarada, how she explained it to Sarada.
Yeah, I don't know how she explained it there off the top of my head. But I mean, like the direct comparison, like Naruto versus Toneri, he does a similar thing where he concentrates his like Kaseum into his fist or whatever. It's kind of like that.
That's the very final
I just remember he cuts the moon, and that I watched the movie one time, and he cuts the moon. The less so bad.
That's a perfect example as well between attack potency versus destructive capacity. So Naruto tanked that attack. He was straight up in the blast, but he was completely fine. So he just is stronger than the moon. Like, that's ridiculous, but it is.
Yeah.
Again,
and then in the Naruto Shinden arc, Naruto is getting pierced by kunais, and Sasuke is getting pierced by kunais, and Naruto is getting pierced by a sword, which is made out of metal. Which, I mean, if you're going by these things, that it should not be able to pierce Naruto's skin. So, debating it in this way makes like no sense when you.
Well, part of that
when I go about like Naruto fights and who would win this certain fight. I go by the story and what the story is trying to say about the character's powers in that particular instance. So if a character like, for example, Madara, when he's fighting against Hashirama, he swings his Susanoo sword to cut off some wood hands, and not because he wanted to, just because it's a collateral effect, he cuts off like 20 mountains. I just say, okay, this character's really powerful. And then when Ishiki kicks Sasuke's face and drags him through the ground, he like cracks the ground a little bit. And I'm like, okay, this is not very powerful.
Well,
that is what it is.
Really how it's drawn versus what they're telling us. Like I said, that's why I said I don't really like that disparity between Naruto and Boruto. That's just my opinion. But that doesn't change that Ishiki is still stronger than Madara, even though he doesn't do the same collateral damage things.
Wait, do you think Boruto era Naruto, if he punched like a mountain, he would like destroy the mountain?
No, because that's not how that works.
He wouldn't even make a crack.
I don't know.
Okay. Do you think do you think Sakura would do more damage to the mountain?
Yeah,
I think the mountain
Boruto
would be more
or
blown
Naruto
up, yeah.
because
Like the goal is to destroy the mountain. They both punch the mountain. Who's doing the more damage to the mountain?
Damage is an
Sakura.
interesting word.
Naruto or Sakura?
I wouldn't use the word damage, but what you're answering is Sakura.
Yeah, in Naruto too, like Sakura would do more damage because she's the taijutsu strong type. Like Naruto's
Well,
not
that's
that.
her specialty.
Okay, so what if they
specialty
punched fists and their fists clashed? Who's winning that clash?
Naruto.
Sakura.
That's the difference here. Yeah, that's where we disagree. Is based on that.
If Sakura punched Naruto's fist, she would win. I mean, she wouldn't be able to punch his fist because he's much faster than her. But
So if they're punching a mountain, Sakura's doing more damage. But if they're punching like a punching bag that like can calculate the amount of damage you're doing, Naruto's number is higher.
that makes like no sense.
I agree.
Well, I mean,
in our reality, but this is
This
Naruto.
Get into some nitty-gritty stuff, but I think Naruto, when he punches Kaguya, might send Kaguya flying more than Sakura did. I'm not sure off the top of my head. We'd have to look at the distance and compare, but that could be one way of looking at it.
It sounds ridiculous, but Naruto is a ridiculous series. Again, they don't use the same laws of physics. They move faster than light and various other examples. But again, this is like comparing it to like Dragon Ball. So Dragon Ball, they're blowing up the moon and stuff in like the first arc, but then later on, when they're multiversal, they're just having like casual battles and just punching each other, going all out or whatever, but it's doing no damage to the environment. So it's the same idea.
I mean,
They're
it's
stronger,
because the story requires you not to destroy the environment around you. But if like Naruto's actually pretty good at this stuff. There's a lot of collateral damage in the Naruto fights. When collateral damage is expected, there's going to be collateral damage. And
Dragon
Boruto,
Ball explains that they have key control. Like they specifically mention.
I
that
haven't
point.
seen Dragon Ball, so I
Naruto's chakra
wouldn't
control.
know.
Do they use chakra? Do they talk about
no.
chakra control specifically as it pertains to the damage done from battles?
No.
Because
No,
Dragon
they
Ball
wouldn't do that.
specifically mentions key control as it pertains to damage done in battles.
I'd have to
Because
look
I
for
think
it.
in Dragon Ball Superhero, Whis tells Broly, watch as two Saiyan warriors fight without destroying a planet. And the whole purpose of that fight was that they won't use like transformations or big explosive this or that. So basically key control, which would be like one example, but you know.
So I know I
all
sound
the
like
other ones,
I'm
like Goku and Beerus clash and destroy a galaxy, but then like Super Saiyan Blue Vegito clashes with like a few merges of Masu, and they can't even destroy like buildings behind them with their fists, that type of thing. But,
Yeah, I sound like I'm disagreeing with you, but it's not a thing of like versus dislike. It's a thing of good versus bad. So it's more of the thing of like consistency. I'm just trying to present the most likely interpretation to make everything as consistent as possible, even if you don't like it as much. So I agree. The explosions or whatever in Boruto should be bigger, but that doesn't mean
Well,
it's
you
wrong
disagreed with
or
me on
inconsistent.
that before. Whoa, hold on.
Well, no,
here.
that's what
You
I would
gave
like
me
to
so
see,
much
Kamui.
crap for
I
my
would like to
opinion on
see it,
that.
but it's not. So I'm just working with what we have.
Yeah, but you were giving me crap for my opinion on that.
No, I
You had,
wasn't.
like,
That's
8 hours
nonsense.
worth of crap.
Telling
What
you
is
it's a
this
different
shit?
series
You agreed
isn't
with me the
giving you
whole time.
crap, Kamui.
Oh, dude, you were debating me on this. Okay, so you
Darn
agreed
right I
with
was.
me
I'll
the
debate you on
entire
it again if I have to.
but just to be clear,
Hold on
like
here.
it was never stated that chakra control is linked to the damage output, or rather the conclusion of said attacks in whatever battle we're talking about.
I mean, it probably was. I'd
So
have
I
to
don't
go back
remember
to
that ever being
Tsunade.
stated.
I'd have to go look for it.
No, it never was.
Again, I'd have to look
Now,
for it.
now, to be fair, I don't necessarily disagree with you, Oodie. I'm just kind of pushing the conversation forward for entertainment's sake. But I think if Daigo has a contention with that, he's asking you to like to point to something tangible to prove your claim. You're just saying, oh, it's just written that way.
Kamui is saying it's written
perspective. Okay, well, what are you saying then? Like, what are you pointing to kind of refute what he's saying?
Well, just everything.
Real quick, what I'm just saying is they're literally telling us like things about like, for example, Ishiki or Damon, like to say that he's probably stronger than Sakura.
Yeah, statements mean nothing.
That's where you.
Well, I mean, the statements are the story. Like, there's an extent to where you can say a character statement might not be valid, but when you have repeated statements where they're obviously telling you something, it's like, yes, Damon is a stronger character than Sakura.
Okay, and then
like,
okay, they can say that 100 times if they Susanoo's sword casually and cutting through mountaintops.
Yeah, but like if
the
Damon
shockwave.
Well, here's another example. Jigen kicked through a Susanoo. Jigen is never shown slicing a mountain in half. Doesn't mean he can't just kick through
that's what I
Sasuke
mean.
Susanoo.
That's because the characters are completely nerfed, and Sasuke Susanoo is less. Jigen is kicking the
slice a mountain.
Jigen.
Actually, well, he literally sliced a giant golem in half. I mean, if that tells you.
I mean, if we're looking at destructive capacity, it doesn't make sense for Naruto and Sasuke to be nerfed because Sasuke is doing his full Susanoo. That's the same feat that he's doing in the War Arc.
Yeah, but the Susanoo's like weak. I mean, that Sasuke Susanoo, it wasn't weak. It wasn't strong against Kaguya because it just melted when he kind of tried to hit Kaguya. But that's Kaguya. But like, okay, Jigen is kicking the Susanoo, and then he's like breaking the Susanoo and whatnot, and then Ishiki comes in and kicks Sasuke in the head, and he does less damage to Sasuke, and Ishiki is way stronger than Jigen according to everyone.
We also know
Sasuke is more durable. He's more durable than his own Susanoo, so why would Sasuke even use the Susanoo in the first place?
Yeah, he literally is, though. That's the thing we learned in the tuning exams, is that you can amp your body, make it more you can literally make your skin harder using chakra, whereas you cannot do this with your organs. It was described, that's when you're looking at, like, the gentle fist. That's how it's described. It bypasses durability. So Sasuke is just durable.
Which I think is stupid. I'll be honest. It is pretty ridiculous that Jigen can kick through a Susanoo, but then it doesn't really do anything when he kicks Sasuke. That's pretty goofy, but like, I mean, that just is what it is.
Well, it's the same thing with Dragon Ball. If you're off guard, when Goku's in Super Saiyan Blue and he's shot in the back with a random laser beam, he just like basically dies. That doesn't mean he's weaker than the laser beam. He could tank that laser beam. He just was off guarded at the time.
Well,
the thing about the tuning exam statement is that it doesn't really pertain to like to people enhancing their skin with chakra to make it more durable. It just means that there are ways, there are jutsus to protect yourself from outside, but there's nothing that can protect your organs.
Literally, what he's referring to is being stronger. So, like, for example, I am literally a strong guy. If a weak person punches me, it doesn't do shit to me. But if I was a 6-year-old kid, it would probably hurt like hell. The point with the gentle fist is that it doesn't matter how big and strong I get, the gentle fist can still work on me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's
really what he's referring to. But
then we see other examples.
I mean, Himawari one-shot Hokage Naruto and the Nine-Tail at the same time. You know, Naruto is supposed to be 20 times light speed. Is one.
I mean, in fairness, that is just a gag moment.
Well, but we can't use that Kamui.
It's still it's quote unquote canon.
Like, if anything, just say he's off guard. That's the previous example I was saying.
Well, he was off guard.
And plus, he wasn't like using his chakra at the time to statistically make himself strong. Like, he wasn't in
even if you're off guard, the difference in speed that those two characters have should be so enormous. The Naruto would be able to dodge that.
But we don't even know that to be the case because we don't know how strong Himawari is now, and it is a story implication that she is strong now in the camp.
I mean, she was 6 when she did that.
Yeah, but specifically when she's in that lock-on mode, Himawari just all of a sudden becomes like God tier.
Wait, Oodie, so
bring Ishiki to her.
Do you think Ishiki will get cut by a shuriken if he's on guard?
If he's on
I mean,
guard,
shurikens cut everything.
I'm gonna say, well, I don't know. I don't think so because Momoshiki wasn't cut by Sasuke's sword, and he was on
Okay,
guard.
Momoshiki was cut by freaking shuriken after he fused. It doesn't make sense. That's just inconsistency. Of the story.
Momoshiki, he was phased by Boruto's vanishing Rasengan, which cracked a tree.
Now, Momoshiki was at his strongest before when he ate Kinshiki, but didn't fuse. It didn't transform yet. It doesn't make sense.
The only thing with the shuriken thing, I always say Sasuke was infusing his shuriken with a lightning style, but even then, he was still able to get his like his weapon beyond the durability of an Otsutsuki tier combatant.
This is the same thing I want to say against like the Jigen thing. So Naruto and Sasuke are just straight up stronger than Jigen at the very end of the fight because Jigen's at 10%. Naruto and Sasuke are stronger than 10% Jigen, or like less than 10%. So it's the same thing with Momoshiki here with the vanishing Rasengan. He's just out of chakra. Like he used all his chakra. So yeah, I mean I could probably use
stronger
Momoshiki
than him
then.
anymore, dude. 10% Jigen is still beating up all his clones.
Naruto, we're not talking about this right now. Using this as an example.
Wait,
but the point is that he was weakened.
Boruto?
Right there. Like
Base
it's Fused
Boruto
Momo.
was stronger than Fused Momo at that moment.
Well, Boruto doesn't scale to his attack. The same way Naruto in part 1, he was very weak, but he had a S-rank jutsu in the Rasengan. That Rasengan is still stronger than anything Naruto
It's not
can do.
S, it's A rank.
Okay,
Yeah,
well,
they-
semantics.
But the thing is, that's the Rasengan. Like the vanishing Rasengan is like really ass in terms of like its damage.
It cracks a tree. That's literally what it does.
I don't think
When
it is.
Sasuke
Like-
says, "Oh no, I saw your Rasengan,"
Wait,
then.
he was trying
And
to
then
show
you see the
Kakashi
damage it did.
during the Deepa arc, which happens way after the Momoshiki stuff, so he should have gotten stronger. He is demonstrating the vanishing Rasengan to Kakashi, and he just tosses it at like a boulder. It just took like it just chips it. Like,
Dude, that shit was so stupid.
He's so
This
Kakashi
regular
was so
Rasen-
disappointed.
Kakashi's Rasengan was doing ass damage. I was like, bro, this is not right.
No, Kakashi, I think Kakashi did some significant damage. That's pretty
It
much
did
what I would have
okay, but like compared to what we've seen in the past, like when Naruto hit the tank on the rooftop, dude, it was nothing compared to that.
I think it was pretty comparable.
Which
I'm being
arc
honest.
is that? I haven't seen the. I dropped
Yeah.
Boruto anime around chap like
It's the Kara
Power
actuation. arc.
actuation.
It's, still one of my
Yeah,
favorite arcs.
no
of the
idea
Boruto anime.
what happens in that. Arc.
Really, it's actually a good arc.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, it's
specifically
pretty
the
good.
second half when Deepa shows up. From that.
I watched up until like episode 100, and then I watched the tuning exams they did, and the time travel arc. Those were the ones I watched.
It's like
And
episode 157 or something when it starts, but it gets good at like episode 166 onward. Like that's 166 onward is really when it's like
It's like One Piece. No, trust me, it gets good after episode 569 or something.
Well, I'm just being objective. Like everyone's favorite part of the arc is the Deepa part. He's not really.
I don't even know who this
in it.
character. I literally have no idea.
Well, you'll figure out who he is. If you watch it.
Deepa's a good character actually though.
It's pretty cool.
Everybody likes
I
Deepa.
like Deepa.
Great antagonist.
As
I
long
thought
as you
this guy's
like
name was-
Boruto's-
Wasn't this guy's name Victor or something? I
No,
googled
that's
it.
Victor's
There is
the other
Victor,
guy.
yeah.
Nobody likes Victor.
No one likes Victor. Everyone
Is
likes
he
Deepa.
a Kara guy?
Deepa's anime
Yes,
only.
Victor
He is a
and
Kara.
Deepa are both Kara
Remember?
people.
He has a healing factor, but he has a peg leg. Nobody likes it. Nobody likes Victor. He's just kind of odd. But
Yeah,
you're
nobody
talking
really
about
likes
One Piece?
Victor. Like people appreciate what the arc did for him, but nobody likes Victor. Everybody, for the most part, likes Deepa.
Yeah, Deepa's alright. I mean, hindsight, there's some stuff, but I like him definitely better than Victor.
I thought Deepa was a One Piece character or something. That's very confusing.
No, he's
No.
based off of Hisoka in many ways, though.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's like he's got the face paint. He's like a Joker clown like dude.
Is he
very
sus?
goofy.
Like Hisoka?
Yes.
No, he's not like a
Uh,
pedophile. He's more like
Oh.
a cannibal.
In
Not
that
like a-
regard, never mind.
He kind of
Oh.
give off certain kind of energy, like vibes. But yeah,
A little bit, I guess. Yeah.
He's flamboyant. He
He's
has
really cool.
probably the best troll in all of Boruto, though. I
Agreed.
will say.
Though I watched the Boro fight in the anime because I actually think that that's the least bad fight in the Boruto manga, so I wanted to check it. And it's actually bad in the anime. Like, it's all the pacing is all off. The choreography
I
is
like the Deepa
strange.
fight
Like,
better than the Boro fight. Both Deepa fights actually, but that's just me.
what?
He does not like
Boruto.
Boruto.
Boruto. I love Boruto. It's so canon.
I know. We've convinced
I
him.
say it's not canon.
My bad.
Boruto's a divine
Right, so you're
parent.
a Boruto fan now?
Well, what's really interesting about this, you've said, Dygonights, that your biggest contention...
Boruto's alright.
You just don't like the aliens. Like, you think Kaguya ruined Naruto, and you think in Boruto, the Otsutsuki ruined Boruto in general.
No, but in Boruto, the aliens are a big problem, but the entire series is a problem for me. Like, I have a
would
problem
disagree.
with mostly everything.
Again, you
in
said
the
that
story.
your favorite arc is the Tento arc because it doesn't have aliens. Like, was that a meme or?
Yeah, no, it's true. In the manga, that's my favorite arc.
The same with the Boro fight. It's literally the worst. Both the worst fight and the worst arc.
Yeah, the Mujina Bandits is like everyone's least favorite arc.
I mean, that arc, at least, it does some world building outside of it's not good. I'm not saying it's good. It's pretty terrible, but it's my least my least disliked arc in the series. But like the Boro fight, it's mildly interesting because ninjutsu actually works in the fight, and there's a strategy behind what their characters
then you-
doing.
The Deepa fight at least has some of that. Like that's it's actually comparatively good.
And Kamui's really trying to convince you to watch that Deepa.
And there's the virus
Still
thing,
one
which
character I
I mean,
praise.
there's some, there's something more than let's see who can absorb more ninjutsu than me in this fight. Well, I mean, it's not like one of the things that kind of baffles me about Boruto is the existence of Mitsuki as well. Like, Mitsuki is the most unimportant character in the entire story. It should have been Kawaki from the beginning. He should have been in Team 7 from the beginning, so they could build the relationship with Boruto way more, but I don't know.
I don't think a character
I
being
don't care
introduced late
that much about
necessarily
Boruto,
means
too.
they're unimportant. Like, Madara is introduced literally late as possible, but he's like one of the most important characters.
Oh yeah, but Kawaki, he lacks the development for you to care.
You mean in that?
Like,
What?
They say
Kawaki's
time and maybe in the anime it's there.
Kawaki's the most developed character in the story, so I mean, like, you're probably. I mean, you're not.
Kawaki, I think it's the better character that the new character, like from the new generation. But even still, when Kawaki says to Boruto, "Oh, you're my brother," and Boruto says, "Hey, bro, I don't feel that." And you can even say that this was a kind of a problem back in Naruto when Naruto and Sasuke were fighting in the Valley of the End. There could have been more to their relationship before that. But if you compare that to Kawaki and Boruto, then that was way more back then.
So I think
That's
this is
just
really,
me, I guess.
I think this is really where we get to the difference here, is that we just fundamentally disagree as much as possible on a lot of these takes. We think we think Boruto characters are faster, they're stronger. We think Boruto's good. We think the Otsutsukis are good to some degree. Like,
We need
there's a
Boruto-
lot that we disagree on in terms
But
of
we
the
need
narrative.
Boruto characters though, because I do think some characters are stronger and faster than Shippuden characters.
Well, this is actually why I
Yeah,
went
no.
back to this. So, Mello, you always meme that, oh, Ishiki's dodging kunai. Okay, Kaguya was dodging normal humans' bows and arrows. What's your answer for that?
wait. Okay, so obviously you're memeing because I know you long enough now.
Mhm.
But so we always use the strongest version of these characters. All right, so stop this with this pre-chakra fruit Kaguya who's pregnant and super nerfed. Okay, having her chakra siphoned off.
I mean, that's not even canon. Like, it's in the anime, but
Kishimoto did write it, but...
Did he, though?
Yeah.
what's
fine
your
with using the
proof? What's your
Okay, do you think... This is a good question. Do you think Kishimoto's currently
He's
writing
not
Boruto?
writing Boruto. He's not writing Boruto.
Yeah,
This
okay,
is
that's
insane.
another thing we just fundamentally disagree on. I see no reason to just not believe them.
Like, if you compare the Boruto manga to the Naruto manga, the way those two things are written is so different. First, the Naruto manga, it skipped through many different storylines in an insane pace. The Boruto manga, usually the entire chapter is about one specific storyline, and they repeat information after information that we've already discovered that information before. And maybe then there's another plot line about a villain or something, but there's like 2 at most. In Naruto, remember during the Jiraiya versus Pain and Itachi versus Sasuke fight, they were skipping through like 10 different storylines, and it all made sense. Like it flowed very well. So either Kishimoto's just like not caring at all, which I guess that's a fair take, or he's not writing Boruto. I want to see how the Minato manga goes to pair those things.
Do you? Okay, yeah. Well, that's another question. Do you think
how they're written?
Do you think Kishimoto at least wrote the Minato manga?
I mean, yeah.
Okay. Okay. For Boruto, I think Kishimoto is writing it because it just does feel like it changed styles. It's changed more towards Kishimoto's more troll style. For example, with Ada, she's written in like a troll way. I don't think Kishimoto would have written it. It's much more lighthearted, just like Naruto was. The original like first 50 chapters of Boruto were much more darker, covering the Kara arc, literal child abuse, and now you have Ada feigning over Kawaki. That doesn't seem like something Kishimoto would have written. That seems a lot more like Kishimoto. It just feels more in his style, and it also feels like it changed styles around that point.
You guys know this, like, it's gonna be circular because you're just arguing like your perspective.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you won't agree with each other.
I mean, we're probably not gonna get anywhere with this argument.
All right, Dygo, let's since we're starting to wrap up a little bit, let's get to the more hard-hitting questions. So you answered like why you started doing Naruto. Why did you start your rewrite series? Like, do you think Naruto needs to be rewritten?
Because Kage exists. That's literally the reason.
Okay, why did Kaguya ruin Naruto?
Oh, I am deep into the 30-second page of a video script I'm doing just about that. It would take way too long to explain it. This video is gonna come out this year probably.
So your Naruto rewrite, it's starting from the beginning. If your problem's Kaguya.
Yeah, no, I know this, but it's the thing is, I was like, okay, I have to change. But then I was like, okay, the war arc has some things I don't like either. And then I was like, okay, but if I want to change these things about the war, I have to change some things in the 5 Kage Summit. But if I have to change things here, I will do everything.
Yeah. I got you. Okay. So I'll give you credit where credit's deserved. You, at the beginning of your like episode 1 and a few of your episodes, you're like, all right, I understand Kishimoto wrote a good series. I'm not trying to say my version's better. I'm just saying there's things that I personally dislike, so I'm writing it for my taste, etc., etc. So I think that definitely deserves credit where it's owed. I do think you changed the story a little bit too much for my liking. So what I mean by that is Mello, don't worry, I won't spoil anything, but Attack on Titan does something similar. They set the viewer's expectations early on, and then later, they betray those expectations. But bringing that idea, okay, let's just assume I'm right, so that we don't stay on that semantic too long of Attack on Titan. Let's just say it changed series, it's like a different story. So I think, for me, writing-wise, Attack on Titan should have been 2 different series. I don't think later on is bad. I still think later on it's still written fine, it's still written good. It just, compared to the first half, it's written differently in a way that they should have been 2 separate series. He should have written Attack on Titan, and then he should have written City Escape number 12, Shikamaru's Adventures, or I don't know, some other random series with different characters in a different universe. Like, again, the writing of both the beginning and end of Attack on Titan is fine. They just don't correlate well together. So, bringing that to Naruto here, you're writing this Naruto rewrite, but you're not you are writing it for Naruto fans because, in my opinion, there's a lot of like fan service instead of structure, but we can get into that next. But just looking at the rewrite, it feels like you're writing a story that happens to be in the Naruto universe and using the Naruto characters rather than rewriting the Naruto story.
Are you referring to the arcs?
Well, just as
original
early
arcs,
on as like even the very beginning, one of your first points is that Naruto is more like doing a like revenge story against Minato. Like he doesn't like Minato. Like that's completely fundamentally changing Naruto's overarching journey. And as the main character, that fundamentally shifts the entire story.
How is it changing the entire journey though?
It's just like the thematics in general of Naruto and his character and what he needs to overcome.
I think the reason why I did that I made Naruto more, angry towards the village, you could say, is so that the dark Naruto has a because the Dark Naruto in the original series, I like that, but I just think it came out of left field. Like Naruto never really showed those sentiment of detesting the villagers and stuff like that, and I think it should have more weight when that moment happens. And then Naruto finally.
That is in part 1 and as well as in flashbacks, but we could just disagree on that.
No, I mean, of course Naruto, he didn't like the villagers, but it's not as though he despised them. And that's the feeling you get when there's the Dark Naruto scene.
Part of that, though, I would say is because Naruto's point isn't that he wants to get revenge on the villagers. He just wants to make the villagers not hate him. That is Naruto's goal, really. So I feel like that would conflict with his whole purpose. His whole he doesn't like the idea of revenge, really. Although there's times where he's tempted, like with Nagato, for example. But yeah, he's not trying to get revenge on them. That is changing Naruto's character by doing that.
Yeah, but he's not trying to get revenge on them either. He's just
I haven't seen your video, though, in fairness.
Yeah, no.
So I'm just going off of this summer.
So they're just intrinsic values and lessons in the themes of Naruto, and if you change that, you're writing a different story. It's not Naruto. It's a completely different series that you're just writing in the Naruto universe.
I mean, I guess you could say that, but I don't see it that way. But if you got that impression, then...
No, that's completely fair. I'm not even saying your series is bad. Like your rewrite, I don't think it's I think it's just a different series. But like your story, it's a good story. It's just not Naruto. Like it's not rewriting Naruto.
I mean, okay, yeah.
Again, going back to like Attack on Titan.
I never heard that before. Like some people say that they don't like some. Of course, a lot of people say what they don't like about the things that I changed, but I never heard that particular take. So it's interesting.
Well, for me, I think this really boils down to what do you think the purpose of Naruto is? Like, what was your biggest takeaway from the series? Like, what did you learn from it? Because it should be the same.
Like the overarching theme of the Naruto series.
If you could boil Naruto down to one sentence, how did Naruto change your life?
How Naruto changed my life? Okay, this is. I have a YouTube channel.
Well, not like. More like on a significant level.
So, Naruto is a story about how you can endure things. Like this is a thesis statement in chapter 699 that Sasuke gives to. Sasuke tells Naruto like the Shinobi is the one who endures, the one who perseveres even though things are not exactly good in this world. That this world is gonna be bad and a lot of people are gonna go bad because of it. This is essentially like the Talk no Jutsu thing. Naruto is helping his own enemies to persevere through, well, the curses that the world inflicted upon them. This is essentially like endurance and enduring hardships. This is what I mostly think Naruto is about.
I completely agree. I think that is the #1 takeaway. I think that is what the Naruto series is about. And that's reflected in literally every single aspect, every tiny corner, nook and cranny within the Naruto series to some degree. It all reflects back onto this. It all has something to say in regards to that. It develops that theme. So, okay, they need to endure. What do they need to endure from? Not necessarily the characters, but like the ideological differences. What is the conflict here? What's the contrast? What's the dynamic? Why does Naruto overcome these obstacles? And it just goes back into like all the character things. What's their weakness, their wound, their mask? All these different narrative elements all span off of this idea of enduring. So like understandment is a huge aspect in Naruto. Conflict and compromise. I know Kamui hates that word compromise, but it really
I don't hate the word. It's just the way you use it. That's
okay. Whatever. That's a side tangent. So I think this is a reflection of what Naruto as a series is trying to be, which I think is the most important thing.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, cool.
Like I know that the most like the stereotype is to say that Naruto is about hard work versus natural talent. Let's go. I'm just like, no.
I'm glad that
not
you
really
say that
about
as well.
that.
Yeah, that is a thing. That's just not a theme in Naruto, and a lot of people say it is because of.
That's a
bleed.
horrible
I mean, it's like a sub theme
Sure.
a couple of times. Like, yeah, this is a concept in the story, it's something that happens in the story. You see people of hard work clashing against people with natural talent, but that there's way more than just this. Like, it's not even scratching the surface. So
You definitely see that a few times. Out of curiosity, because you've mentioned that you've taken writing classes when you were talking about your Naruto rewrite previously. What classes have you taken? Just again, out of pure curiosity. Like what level of classes?
I took short fiction. I think there were a couple, no, 3 classes were like 100 and 200 level classes. It wasn't even a minor or anything. It was just something. And I took short fiction. I think that was the name of the class. I took fiction writing for like there are some weird names but I took fiction writing. I took I didn't take screenwriting. I could have taken that, but I took a class about theater, and then there was like some writing and also like theater stuff when you act and things like that. So it was 4 class. It was that one, and also what was the, I think it was like writing for science fiction and fantasy. It was like a very interesting class. I was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna take this one. I like the topic. It had nothing to do with my major or anything.
No, I think that really goes back to what I was saying at the beginning of stream. There's a fundamental difference between the objective measures that you can use in screenwriting. Screenwriting is quite literally a science by definition. Whereas storytelling, that is more subjective. You can make that good or bad, but that's more of like liking things versus disliking things. So I think a lot of people definitely do enjoy your Naruto rewrite, especially like your fans, obviously, because that's why they subscribe to your channel. That's why I know you as well, through the Naruto rewrites. So I think you definitely incorporate a lot of storytelling elements to fix. I mean, that's the whole purpose of this, like you said. It's to rewrite it in your own taste, because there's things that you personally dislike, so you're just changing those aspects to make it to where you like the series more. Again, I would hate to boil it down to like the terms such as like fan fiction or something, but
I mean, it is. In the end of the day, it is fan fiction. Like, I'm not saying it's not. Like, I don't think it's a bad thing to say it is fan fiction, because I'm using somebody else's work to make something different. So it is what it is.
That's fair. I think there's definitely a lot you can learn from screenwriting, though. I could link you a couple resources later if you're interested, like the top 3 best books, because a lot of books, Anatomy of Story, for example, Save the Cat, these are books that tell you like how to write a story in the most basic sense. They break it down into like sub-levels, but they don't tell you anything about what's actually good, about like conflict and compromise, because screenwriting, like I was saying, it is a science. It has to do a lot with psychology. So you don't need to make likable characters or unlikable characters as your protagonist, villain, whatever. What the main goal of a story is to make it interesting. So you have to make interesting characters. For example, Tony Stark. He's not a likable character. He's a jerk. He's literally told to the audience, hate this character at the beginning of the story. Same with like someone like what's
Donzo.
No, Donzo works, but I was gonna say the other superhero, the one with the red mask. Popular recently.
Spider-Man?
No, not Spider-Man. What's his face? The one that like gets burned. He gets burned. His face gets burned. Deadpool.
Oh, Deadpool.
Yeah. So he's funny. That's an empathetic trait, and empathetic traits are very important, like unfair injury, etc., etc. But the whole point of Tony Stark, he's a billionaire philanthropist. Well, that's interesting. I haven't spent time with a billionaire philanthropist. Let's spend time with this character because I want to learn more. So it's buying the time of the audience. You're investing them into the story by making it interesting. You are literally buying their time. It is like a two-way street here. They are willing to watch your show because you're willing to make it watchable for them. And I think that applies to like all stories, but I'm sort of talking more generally than anything. For example, okay, so Dygonights, do you follow any like specific structures when you outline your rewrites?
Or like when I outline a specific episode or something like that?
Let me re-ask the question. How do you write your scripts? How do you go about it? Like, obviously, I know like you pull up Google Docs and type it, but
yeah, I firstly read the chapters of the manga that I'm gonna be tackling, and sometimes I don't even write it in like story like sense. I just say, okay, this thing I would change because maybe it's a minor thing or something like that, and then I go about writing the story. I I don't think I do really a big structure to it. I do like bullet points. Okay, this has to happen. This, and that. And then I go and then I say, okay, these things have to be strung together in the plot. And these two characters, they have to do a certain thing. And then I go about writing it. And sometimes I just have ideas on the fly. I think that's pretty normal, right? That you incorporate into the story as you're writing. And then you do the first draft. You look over what you did. You can improve the pacing. You can do all kinds of stuff. You see, oh, this is not working. Just delete it. But I don't think I follow a methodology, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's fair. I think you do structure it to some degree. Like you're saying, you write down bullet points and then sort of expand from there. That would be a sort of a structure right there. So that works. Really quickly, for those screenwriters out there that are aspiring, these are the 3 resources I was referencing earlier. So it's K.M. Weiland Creating Character Arcs. That's the first book. The second one is Carl Iglesias is Writing for Emotional Impact. That's the second one. And then Cut to the Chase by Linda Venus. So if I were to...
I've heard of that one.
Yeah, exactly. So the other ones have fundamental flaws. They're too, I guess, basic. They'll teach you how to write, but not how to write. So it's sort of like a strategy online. If you look up a strategy guide for a game, it'll tell you what towers to place when, on what rounds, what upgrades to get, but it's not teaching you the aspects of the game, how to play the game. It's just showing you how to win rather than how you should learn on your own. So these books teach you how to learn rather than what to do, if that makes sense. All right. Well, since we've gone harder and harder hitting every step of the way. So Dygonights, this is the part where you might hate me. So you've done a few questionable things. What's your final words to the haters out there? Everyone that's like, oh, Dygonights, that guy's crazy.
Well, the Boruto videos.
Well, yeah, just in general, we do make a lot of negative videos on Naruto and Boruto, in my opinion.
I mean, I make videos about topics that I think are interesting. A lot of people say that my videos are very negative, but like sometimes it's just the title.
I agree.
To bait people in.
Yeah.
No, I do.
Side note, I think you're brilliant for that. I think you are the #1 marketing strategy genius of all of the Naruto community. I just want to get that out there. Like, you are doing this very intentionally, and I know it.
For example, like, I'm looking through my videos here. There's the video title, Why Ninja Cream Jutsu Names in Naruto, and then the thumbnail says, the dumbest Naruto trope. And then they say they don't do that. They actually just think most of the time in the manga. And then in the anime, like, you hear their thoughts, which is what happens. But then they kind of make it in a more negative way so that people click. Oh, I guess it's a strategy.
The most famous one that comes to my mind is how to destroy a story in 1 episode.
I think I saw the thumbnail for that.
But I think there's a reason some of these.
No, that was very negative because that was about Zetsu and the entire Kaguya thing. Not the entire Kaguya thing, but just like the Zetsu retcon and stuff. And I actually really hate that part of the story. So that was negative on purpose.
Yeah. I agree with a lot of what HotBoy says about the narrative. I think that comes first and foremost more than anything. So even if it's an alien or whatever, that's like a side point. Like, that's not important or significant. That doesn't say anything on the purpose of Naruto. So I'm willing to look past it. Whereas, understandably, you aren't, because you care more like. I know you kind of disagree with this earlier, but like the notion of the choreography or like the cool jutsu or like other things. So you do incorporate the plot. You think the plot is important. I don't think the plot is important at all. It just complements the story. It's for those who are fans of the story who like to look at the world building, for example. But yeah, just some of these titles I think are very interesting. I think again it's very brilliant, very intentional. Some of these are like your most popular video of all time, why Naruto characters stopped using hand signs. That's not necessarily inherently negative, but you can see the negative implications, I think. Like the death of
and the conclusion of that video is that they didn't stop.
As a matter of fact, I'm glad I remembered this. So me and Kamui have this little side debate going that's been going for a while about hand signs, okay? And we were hoping to get your take on hand signs here.
What about hand sign?
You do present this idea in the video that the more skilled you are at a jutsu, the less you'll need to use hand signs. For example, you mentioned Mater. He's even in the thumbnail. He only does one hand sign. And then you say that's an inconsistency. Well, let me clear up this inconsistency for you and Kamui once again. So
no, Oodie's just wrong, dude.
Okay, Kamui, excuse you, Kamui. I'm trying to talk here to our guest. That is very rude of you, Kamui, for interrupting me.
You're blasphemous thing that
Okay. So my argument for hand signs, the way I think it works, I think it molds your chakra. So every ninjutsu, genjutsu, taijutsu, whatever, it has a chakra usage. It has an amount. So later on, Sasuke can use Chidori by himself. I think this uses a specific amount of jutsu. When you use hand signs, you are reducing the amount of chakra required to use that hand sign.
That's headcanon.
No, yeah, see, it's wrong, dude. No. Doing the hand signs helps you mold your chakra to perform the jutsu. But if you're skilled enough, you just don't need the hand sign. That's why Sasuke stops using them for Chidori after a certain point. Same with Kakashi. Because they're skilled enough, they don't need it anymore. And also just because they just stopped doing it.
The more likely consistent interpretation, my interpretation, Kamui.
No, it's just not more consistent.
Let's keep in mind.
Zabuza was not just a genius who was using 60 hand signs for the Water Dragon Jutsu so that it wouldn't require chakra.
Let's keep in mind that Shinjutsu, the jutsus described to use 0 hand signs, use a ton of chakra. This is canon, so it's not just headcanon. This is canon to work this way.
No, not all of them necessarily. Ada is never once tired from spamming omnipotence all the time.
Oh yeah, how much chakra does Ada have, by the way, Kamui? Really quickly. The omnipotent character Ada, how much chakra does the omnipotent character have?
We don't know.
Oh, wow, so I guess it doesn't count your example, Wow, okay. So, Dygonights, how much did I convince you, and how right am I?
I'm tired from using Sukuni. Like, let's just be real now. Like, it's just blasphemy. Just don't even listen.
And then also, Naruto Arc 1, Kakashi and Zabuza are using so many hand signs because they're out of chakra for the Water Dragon Jutsu. It's not because they're weak shinobi or whatever. Kakashi literally stayed at the strongest Jonin in the village. So.
I mean, Zabuza used like 2 jutsus. There's no way he's out of chakra in that fight.
Zabuza never once says, like, I'm out of chakra, but he used more hand signs to conserve it.
He was amping himself with the.
That's an interesting like theory. I think it's funny to like think about it, but I don't. It's not the case.
But again, like Oodie, like for example, when Sasuke's low on chakra in the Boruto era, you would think he would go out of his way to start using hand
He doesn't have the
time
to do it. Just look at Kirin. Sasuke uses a sign against Itachi, but he doesn't use one against Naruto.
For that matter,
and like in the second arc, the Tenchi Bridge arc, and then in that Tenchi Bridge arc, when he does it, his whole body, he has to surround his body in chakra, almost like it's taking more chakra to do it than it does in the Itachi fight. So Dygonights, once again, I will wait for you to sell me how right I am over Kamui's ridiculous headcanon theory nonsense.
Because that's not how it works. You can't just do that.
So yeah.
All right.
So who did you understand more?
I think this is a hot topic, huh?
Yeah.
Well, we already get Daigo's opinion on the pain arcs on the Jiraiya thing. He likes the pain arc, right? You like the pain arc?
I like the pain arc a lot.
Okay, yeah. So wait, you've watched? Do you like most of Attack on Titan?
Yes. I think the final chapter it's too lukewarm, if that makes sense. It doesn't go all the way.
Wait.
Right.
I'm about to go, so that's perfectly fine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Daigo, Trippy, Oodie, Kamui, Duck. Guys, thank you so much for having me. It's always a pleasure. Enjoy the rest of your podcast. Okay?
You know what, Mello?
Yeah.
Salutations.
Wait, Mello, want to do the outro for us real quick?
Pay me. Okay, pay me. All right, bye.
Daigo and Hasi, was Madara right or wrong?
Was he right? No. Would I want to live in the infinite? Maybe. I don't know.
I'll take that answer. That's another point against Oodie.
Okay, well, don't mind me as I share my screen.
Was Madara right or was he wrong?
Go ahead, Hasi. We'll wait.
Yeah, I wouldn't agree. I don't think he's right. I'm not gonna lie. I don't think he is.
All right, so Hossie agrees with me. He agrees that
I got it.
Thank you for agreeing, Hossie.
No,
So,
he doesn't think
I'm sharing my screen in the Discord. So as I have pulled up here, by the way, Dygo, this would actually be really interesting just for you in general for YouTube. My over 100-page college thesis explaining why Madara is objectively
information,
correct.
all this misinformation and misinterpretation.
Again, let me reiterate because I feel like the impact of my words didn't sink in. In fact, I'm going to clap as I do it this time. My 100-page college thesis from a screenwriter. College thesis.
Is that published?
100 pages.
Is that published?
It's published in my heart.
Oh, okay.
It's published to my college. That's all that matters.
Show us your works cited page.
Well, I actually took that out because I didn't care enough to keep it. But that's
so you don't have any sources.
Well, no, I have many sources.
Trust me, bro. Sources.
It was like 3 pages of works cited. But
oh gosh. The crazy thing is, Madara didn't even know he was wrong.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Your Google Docs are not dark mode. Damn.
Oh my gosh. As a matter of fact, I use I don't use my anime list. I use
incorrect list.
This is mad because I have JoJo's Bizarre Adventure at 98.
Where do you have Attack on Titan again? Wait, actually, hold on.
You have Tokyo Ghoul and Knife?
It's just the better version of Parasite, yeah.
Pork chop and flat screen number 16.
The anime that rushed Dark?
I don't care what you say, the anime's better than the manga. Be bad.
Erased! Erased! It's so
what's wrong
mid.
with Erased? Erased has a good soundtrack. It looks good.
What?
It's good for the
first song.
It's short.
Like, it's okay, but it's not like top 10, but like top 15.
It's definitely top 15.
Crazy. Even the opening and ending songs are good. If I'm being honest, I judge a lot of anime based on the soundtrack. That's why I got it in Naruto in the first place.
Yeah, but then why don't you have Attack on Titan higher? Because you said that's like one of the things that you constantly praise about.
Listen,
he loves their soundtrack.
The soundtrack is great. Attack on Titan, freaking Hanji's death. Aaron was right. The freaking
Omega 34.
See,
Ben 10?
No,
is that the original one?
Or darn right it is, yeah. It's the original.
That's not Ben 10. That doesn't say Ben 10.
Ben 10 is objectively better than everything below it, including Attack on Titan. I will say it right here. I will say it live to the camera. Ben 10 is better than Attack on Titan.
Wait, how far into Jujutsu Kaisen?
Ben 10 is underrated. I think if Ben 10 was an
Ben 10.
Very.
Wait, how far into Jujutsu Kaisen are you? Because I noticed it's below Attack on Titan.
Yeah, just season 1. It's what is it? It's,
Where's Kaguya-sama? Where's Kaguya-sama?
I haven't seen that one.
That far.
But I have seen exactly 109 different anime. Platinum in.
Where's Kogiya's?
I haven't seen that either, unfortunately.
Where's Kaguya-sama?
Haven't seen it. What else have you seen?
Oh my god. Where is Assassination Classroom?
Oh, that's pretty high up.
Oh, that's
21. I have personal attachments to the series though because I watch it literally at the same time.
Fire Force is crap.
Fire Force, what is it? Okay, listen. I have explanation for why it's this high because I agree it is crap. Fire Force, from a production value standpoint, is the best anime of all time. It has the best production value of any anime. Fire Force, absolutely, 100%.
No.
What anime is produced better? What
Where's
does production
Vinland Saga?
value mean to you? Vinland Saga? I think it's at like 70, 60. It's at 60.
60?
I've only seen season 1.
That's
Season
kinda
1
wild.
on Amazon where I can't watch it at 2 times speed. So that does
Season
factor
1
into this.
alone is like one of my favorite anime.
Vinland
Where's
Saga's
Death Note?
Metal
Where's
is
Death
so
Note?
low too.
Death Note's
You
pretty
like
high.
Death Note?
Vinland Saga's
Yeah,
oops,
Blotch is
let me not
very
say
good.
How do you have Demon Slayer over Vinland Saga? That's
Yeah,
crazy
that's
to me.
insane. That's insane.
That is wild.
Okay, what is it? Death Note I have pretty high up.
Wait,
22.
your FMA brother who?
Oh yeah.
That's a wild thing. That's a wild thing.
No, literally just watch the guy that broke it down for 6 hours. Mathwiz, I think. Let me. Oh, by the way, while I.
My channel.
Where did you get this?
My channel again.
Where Find this.
Internet.
Right? Can you post that art?
You also use YouTube not on dark mode? That's crazy.
Oh my! How much dark mode do you use? Hey, my Discord is on dark mode. Does that
I have
count?
everything on dark mode. Every single thing I use.
Hunter should be lower than that.
You know what? Sure, I'm fine with that. Let's put it even lower.
Wait, you like Legend of
Oh, I
Korra?
like Hunter x Hunter.
You like Legend of Korra?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Oh,
Oh.
let's keep in mind. I like Legend of Korra compared to where I like Avatar, so it doesn't count.
Gosh.
Because you like Avatar, Korra should be even.
But this is the
Yeah,
thing.
I
Like we were
agree.
saying earlier, I don't think
I
Boruto
agree.
can ruin Naruto the same way I don't think Korra can ruin Avatar. I don't think he can
No,
retroactively
but-
ruin anything. I don't think Naruto being an Ashura reincarnate means Neji was right in the tuning exams.
I mean, let's be real. You put Tokyo Ghoul there just of Unravel, right?
Yeah, obviously. That's not even a question.
You like Kakegurui?
It's fun.
I couldn't see through that. Like
I
I watched 3
completely
episodes
understand
and dropped it.
Season 2 of Kakegurui is much better, in my opinion. Same with the 6-episode OVA of Season 3 that isn't actually Season 3 because it's an OVA. It's weird. Now, Kakegurui, I completely understand you putting it lower. It's hard to get through. It's a fun series. Megalobox, one of the best written series of all time. I think not even screenwriting, just from a storytelling perspective. Kaiju? No, I don't have Kaiju number 8.
You have Kaiju in there? Oh, okay.
Nah. And then
Where's
probably
Dragon Ball?
Best screenplay. Dragon Ball, again, that goes back to a nostalgia thing, so it doesn't really count, but 28 and then 30.
I've never seen Dragon Ball, so I just wanted to.
Oh, well.
Wait,
okay.
straight up Dragon Ball? Or
But
Dragon Ball
you like
Z?
a Kame ga Kill a lot then? Like
Superheroes.
Dr. Stone at 93.
Oh god, Dr. Stone's awful.
Let me see
I
your
don't
let me
wanna
see your
get into it.
lower ones.
Alright, yeah. Here's
His
here's
lower ones
all of
are
my quote unquote
false.
unwatchable ones. These are unwatchable.
ReZero. That's
I
based.
agree.
That's really based. ReZero's
False.
trash.
W, let's go.
Food Wars
False.
fair. I can
Well,
risk
enough
it.
to finish. I watched like 15 episodes. That
I
was
can't
rough
believe
too.
you even watched that many.
I was watching with friends. Like they were like, this is good. Watch with me. Food Wars, never seen it.
Food Wars is trash.
It's,
Good.
uh,
Don't.
Oh,
It's
that's
the same
trash too.
one.
That's a base take. Yeah. Crap. Classroom of Elite. I never seen that. Go up. Let me see the red.
So these are anime that are just bad.
Blade of the Immortal. I didn't like that either.
Okay.
Out of high school?
God of High School. I watched one
That's-
episode. Didn't like it.
God of High
Okay,
School
Full
is
Metal.
one of the
cool
Like Brotherhood's really good. That one.
Yeah,
that one-
I agree as well. I don't know why,
Oh
Brotherhood.
yeah.
Oh yeah, who was I gonna go find?
Brotherhood's like one of my favorite.
5 hours 25 minutes. I've seen the whole thing.
5 hours?
The complete comparison. This will tell you exactly why I think the original is just better than Brotherhood. Every single point he
Okay,
goes over,
give-
I agree with.
Give me the TLDR. What's the TLDR?
There is no TLDR, it's just better. It's more mature. It's better writing, better pacing. Brotherhood's just cheesy. I don't like the ending.
I've never seen the 2003 one, but
Okay, that's fair.
some people say it's really good. I have to eventually see it. Haikyuu? No, Haikyuu shouldn't be 70.
So I'm a
To be
ranking.
fair, I haven't seen a lot of
Why so
Haikyuu.
high?
I've only seen like half of season 1 of Haikyuu. Probably less than
Okay.
that. Probably like less
What?
than 10 episodes.
It gets better. I mean, it is good. Like,
It is good. Yeah, I agree. Like these are
Uh,
anime
Why
that
is it-
mid doesn't count
Fair.
as bad. So,
fair.
Okay,
My
why
Hero
is-
is a.
it's like average.
Ranking the
don't think
Kings. Why do you have
Vinland
that
should
so
be
high?
that low.
Let me say low.
Ring of Kings,
Curious.
is that the one of like the disabled
Yeah.
one?
75. Yeah, Boji.
Which one? Because it didn't get
the one
good until
where-
the final arc, like of season 1. In my opinion.
Tower of God was
Yeah.
that was okay.
Yeah, I feel like anime adaptations
SAO
just didn't work.
Okay.
Great music though.
SAO should be much lower. SAO was like, you should. Have you seen the abridged?
Funny that you
1,000
say
times
that.
better?
No.
Oh, where's?
Demon
yeah.
Slayer should be in the black list.
I agree.
I haven't seen season 3 for a reason. Yeah, okay. So the parody is at a 42.
Season 3 is.
Online parody. Okay.
In fact, it can go up because the latest episode came out like a month or two ago. I'm gonna move it up to. I'll put it above Spy X Family. Actually, you know what?
Kill
Just
that
to
high is
make
kinda
other
wild,
people
though.
mad, it's going above Attack on Titan.
Like, a Kamui Kill at 34 is pretty wild.
It was one of my first anime. It's fun. It's not good, but it's fun.
Like the ending is so bad.
It's got good fights at least, I think.
Nah. Cautious Hero. Oh, I've seen that one. It's
Yeah.
okay.
That's like probably the best isekai.
Like
And I
any
hate
other
all
isekai, you know.
All isekai.
Have you
suck.
seen Jobless Reincarnation?
No,
Yeah,
in fact, I
Sure,
think I
it's
dropped it.
yeah.
No, I dropped the slime
Yeah.
show. I dropped the one. I dropped Shield Hero as well.
I dropped the slime show. I couldn't handle the slime.
Exactly. Devil is a part timer. That one's
Dropped it as
another
well.
really good isekai, but it's just more of a comedy than anything. It's at 42.
Yeah, especially the first season. Yeah, second
I
season
didn't even
kinda
finish season
trails
one.
off a bit.
Season 1 was
Oh, really?
so